Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new welcome to a new episode.
Now we have to do it again.
Welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, and getting better. My name is Ben Hansen, and this is a rare live episode, a flawless live episode of the podcast. I'm joined by Leo Vader.
Hi, Hansen never does that. We never have to restart like that. But it's our live episode, of course.
You just get up in your head. Joined by Sarah Pozorski.
Hello.
Hello, and joined by Kyle the Killer Hilliard.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about Tchia DLC. Did you? I hope you saw this.
Wait,
TLC?
DLC?
Wait,
did we watch the same state of play?
It's the look. We can get into it quickly here at the beginning, but they have costumes from other games.
What?
And one of the other games, Brian Shea sent me this.
Shut up.
From Game Informer. Scorn.
No, shut up.
What?
No.
Yep.
All right.
What does it look like?
It looks like her organs are on her outside.
What? I can't tell if this is like an early April Fool's or
let's
like
see if
what's going on
maybe
here.
I can send it to you guys here.
That is bizarre.
On Discord or something.
Okay, look, we can dive right into it. But for this podcast, we're going to be talking about the new state of play from Sony, some PSVR news, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. We're going to be talking about Like a Dragon Ishin. We're going to be talking about Shadows of Doubt, Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. We have some great community questions in the back half of the show. Let's kick it off with, the state of play stuff. Tchia. Kyle, since you opened this can of worms, we finally got a release date for this game. If you don't recall, Tchia, it's the one that, tough to say, tougher to spell, Tchia. It is one that we talked about playing the preview build of a little while ago where, Sarah, what's the pitch for this thing? How would you describe Tchia?
It looks like Wind Waker, but you never left Outset Island. And also, it's being ruined by pollution.
Right. And also you can transform like prop hunt or like
technically
prey.
in Wind Waker, you could transform into a seagull. So I feel like I covered that base.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
good.
You're
You're all
right.
set.
It's a game largely about transformation. I get it. But that is Tchia, and they finally announced the release date for this thing. It's coming out March 21st, 2023. And then they also, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, because we're hot off the presses here. We just watched this thing. But they also announced that it's coming out on PS Plus Extra and Premium, kind of that Stray model.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm subscribed to that, but I'm excited for Tchia.
I am too.
Yeah, good impressions from playing that preview build. I like what I played.
Sarah, so we streamed our reactions to the state of play if you want to go and watch that. Sarah had a hot take on Tchia where you said, I hope it's not.
It wasn't a hot take.
It was so hot. You should have seen the chat light up when you said it. But you're like, I hope it's not too gamey. I hope it's not like Stray.
I
was
hope
your
that they're not
shorthand.
going to make me do like a stealth section as a dolphin where I'm like pushing mines around before they explode. And if I get too close to the mine, I'll die. Like, I hope they don't stray it, is what I think I said.
Right.
Like,
right.
I hope they keep it as fun and like whimsical as it actually looks in the previews.
If it's just like a systems heavy sandbox, open world Zelda-ish experience, that's the goal. You don't want that. You don't want to be frustrated in a big way at any point in Tchia. That's like ultimately the shorthand for it.
Yeah. I just get a little worried when I see sort of more like, just like
Gameplay.
I guess like standard game design where it's like, here's the level, here's where you are, here's where you need to get,
Right.
solve some puzzles, dodge some, pollution, clean up the world. Like, I don't know, it looks so much more exploratory.
Yeah.
And then it like closed up the minute you started to like go into more like the gamey sections, like that dark section where you're like shooting in the dark.
Right.
And I was like, oh, like that's other people are gonna love that, not me personally.
All right. Look, if a game is so close to Wind Waker, any deviation from Wind Waker, you'll be like, tisk, tisk, tisk. If
No,
game
I mean
designers.
it's fine to deviate, but like,
No.
I'm getting a little like, Stray looked so good, and then it just turned out to be like following every other algorithm that games have.
Well, we do know for
In a
Tchia is
way.
not linear, so we know that.
Yeah,
at
that seems
least.
huge.
Yeah.
Just from the bit that we play, just knowing how loose it is with what you can turn into, how you can just become a radio and throw yourself into the ocean within minutes. Like, it seems silly enough. I'm really, really curious to see how this all sticks together. I thought it was interesting, Kyle. You can go back and check out our reaction if you're really curious. I thought it was interesting that, they have that ambiguous Sony lady voice throughout the state of play. It doesn't have a name or a face or identity or anyway, but they said, they're like, Tchia is one of our most anticipated games. It's like, isn't that weird for like the narrator voice to be like, this one's really good though? Like,
yeah.
Who's saying it?
I wonder if Sony just internally, if they have high expectations for it or something.
Yeah, I think so. And the fact that they're partnering with it, but if they're trying to use it as a way to push PS Plus and extra and premium. I guess they're kind of incentivized to do it. But yeah, I am very curious about Tchia. I hope to learn more about it soon. Winky winky. But yeah, March 21st, 2023 is when this thing is actually coming out.
And you guys did see in the Discord chat that I put the image, right? So you got Sifu.
Yeah.
You've got Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, which is not out yet. Cat Quest, and then Scorn, obviously.
Right.
Interesting.
Leo.
I love it.
Yeah, no, I'm for it.
It reminds me, Leo, you said that you were playing more Sifu, like over the holiday break, and you said we completely blew it, by the way, with 2 10s by not giving Sifu its due.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you played the updated version where they sort of address the sort of difficulty, right?
How so?
By making it more palatable.
I thought that was like new difficulty options or something, which
Yeah,
I didn't.
I could be wrong.
But you just fell in love with it in a new way.
I forgot how much I loved it. I feel like what you did with Elden Ring, where you were almost gonna give it to God of War, and then you went back to Elden Ring, and you're like, well, obviously this has to be the game of the year.
Yeah,
I feel like all my contenders, I should have gone back and just spent like 10 minutes just feeling what it's like to play it again.
Yep.
That was my lesson, because I was like, I loved this when it came out too. I just forgot exactly how good it felt.
That's the thing. You remember like getting frustrated at times in the structure of the game, but you forget like the controller in your hand. Sifu feels amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a natural segue to Kyle. What'd you think of that state of play overall there, buddy?
That Resident Evil 4 trailer was exciting. I loved that. Yeah, it was pretty underwhelming overall. The VR stuff I actually went in weirdly excited for, because I was like, PSVR 2 is out. I've been playing it a lot. There's not a lot there. They have a good place here to showcase exciting stuff. I thought for sure Beat Saber would get a release date, if nothing else.
Interesting.
And then it was like nothing stood out to me at all in the VR section.
Yeah, it's the classic problem. If Sony says, hey, we're having a state of play, expectations are automatically going to go through the roof. And I feel like they were trying as much as they could to message it of like, okay, it's going to be a lot about Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. We're going to have 5 new VR titles. But I feel like they were doing their best to not hype it up, but still it's tough not to have the takeaway from the state of play be like a little underwhelming, especially like, the PSVR 2.
It's so funny because Nintendo just does it almost too much now. Like they recently like, hey, the final trailer of Super Mario Brothers is coming. Isn't that exciting? And then in that tweet, they're like, by the way, there's not going to be any game stuff in here. So like, please don't
get excited.
Don't even ask. Okay.
But I felt like that was a good way to go. Like otherwise people would just be imagining, okay, this is going to be the blowout for some reason. Yeah. It's just as much as they can reveal what's in there ahead of time without the specifics. I still feel like they needed, I don't know, some sort of degrees of severity of like, this is a state of play and this is going to be a 5-star state of play. This is going to be a 2-star. Just like tell us your rating ahead of time, publishers, so we know what to expect. Because I feel like the last Nintendo Direct, they could have been like, by the way, A- material coming right up, like there's a way that they can couch it. But
you can miss this one.
Stay home.
Yeah.
Don't show up.
There is good stuff in the state of play. And there's a couple of highlights in particular I would love to focus on, but it seemed like this is the time, the week of the PSVR 2 launch. And it seemed like, look, there's a lot we can unpack here with PSVR 2. It seemed like the takeaways, people being like, good tech, I need something else. I need the software to show me the power of VR, something here, Sony. And so this is the big state of play where they're like, hey, we got 5 new PSVR 2 titles. And then they start the presentation with them. And they all, no offense, but they all seem totally fine. The new games that they showed, it's like, hey, it's kind of like Green Hell VR. It kind of looks like Far Cry. Here's the Synapse game where you're kind of shooting some folks. There's Foglands VR where it's kind of, there's some cards, but then also you're running around shooting some folks. Like I needed to see something, I know this is a high bar, but something like new in VR, and none of these experiences that they were showing was giving me a thrill. And it really is a bummer that like, this is the week to impress and sell us, and it's not here.
Yeah.
And not to mention Before Your Eyes was already announced.
Right. And that's going to be cool in VR. I'm really curious to check that out. It's one of my favorite games maybe ever at this point. Like, I really love Before Your Eyes. Sarah, top 20 of all time, Before Your Eyes, at least.
That's crazy.
Well, I don't know about that. I think it's pretty logical.
I'm happy for you, but that's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
What's your number 20?
I don't know.
Right.
I never got to 20.
Yeah, get back to us. Leo, how are you feeling about it? As somebody who's pro VR and maybe PSVR curious, if I may put words in your mouth, like, what do you think about everything they're showing so far?
Yeah, it looked perfectly serviceable. It's really hard to picture what would get people into VR at this point. Because even me, who's liked a lot of experiences in VR, I feel like VR chat with friends is the only experience in it I would consider like completely transcendental and something that everybody on Earth should do. And everything else is like it's cool to do this in VR rather than with a mouse and keyboard or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
But so like that kind of Facebook Horizon is like spoiling the well so much for like come have a cool VR social experience, you know? I feel like that's something that could get people excited and people should be excited about, but it's like how could you?
But Facebook talking about it feels like your boss telling you to do it or something. It's like,
Exactly.
I'm not interested in that.
But yeah, at least for me, if somebody were to do something more interesting in that space, social,
right? Rather than just you can reload a gun in a funkier way. But yeah, they showed they closed
VR Home or something like that. Like honestly,
I mean, I'd be interested. I would want to see what they would try. But yeah, Journey to Foundation from the Foundation universe, Isaac Asimov's Foundation, seemed to be how they were closing out their 5 new PSVR 2 games. And so, you know, if you're an Isaac Asimov fan, you've always wanted to live in that world a little bit, maybe this is the thrill of a lifetime. But I think from the outside, it's another one of those like, okay, this seems all right. But let's talk about positive things before we dive back into some more negative, please, for the love of God. Sarah, what do you think was the highlight of the whole state of play?
When it ended.
How dare you? This is the positive section.
Sorry. We got to see more Baldur's Gate 3.
There it is.
Still looks great. It's still coming. I'm so happy.
Yeah. So August 31st.
That was J.K. Simmons, right? Cave Johnson himself.
It
right?
sounded like it. Have they confirmed it anywhere? Like we're really hot off the presses, so I'm not sure, but it did sound like him.
When it first started, I actually was like, "Is this a Korra?" Like I don't know why, but I was like, "A Korra game, maybe?" Because he's like a big character in Korra.
Oh, really?
Avatar, you know? Yeah. I don't know why my brain went there. It's like, but
weird.
It wasn't.
Looks like there's a new character, General Catheric Thramtha. Don't forget it. Who's voiced by J.K. Simmons for Baldur's Gate 3.
Nice.
10 years ago, Kyle. If I could go talk to little baby Kyle in the crib and I said, baby Kyle, they're going to make
hold on, just to establish it was 2013.
Right, when you slept in the crib.
As an adult with my own child and a full-time job.
Check your calendar, man. But I said, they're going to make a Baldur's Gate 3 and J.K. Simmons is going to star in it. It's not on anybody's bingo card. But yes, they did it. I like everything they showed about Baldur's Gate 3 here. It seems nerdy, good fun. Like we're talking about it in the reactions. Just like it's nice to see them leaning into like they're proud of how dorky it is in a really fun, systems-focused way.
There's nothing like smooth or like pre-rendered about their trailers.
Right.
Like it all looks incredibly in-game.
Right.
Which I think is like very refreshing.
Totally.
But like it is kind of hard to parse, especially in like those types of top-down games, what's going on if you haven't played it already. But definitely looks exciting.
But they're not interested in being so slick with the trailers, even to the point even that they know their audience and they showed like split screen co-op what it looks like in this game. Which if you're a fan of like Divinity Original Sin and Original Sin 2, like I know a lot of folks played those games co-op. So even when this started, I was like, is this gonna have local co-op? And then the fact that they show that in a trailer, anytime they're showing split screen in a trailer, it's like okay, you get the gamers, you got the gamers right. Good job, Larian. Leo, do you have a highlight of the whole thing?
When it started.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's
when I had
beautiful.
hope in my heart.
Does anything stand out for you, or should I inject one into your face?
Please inject one.
Leo, let me tell you what the highlight was for you. It was that game called Humanity from Enhanced Games.
I totally forgot about that.
Did you? I don't know how it's possible because this is one of the weirdest trailers I've ever seen in my life. So we have seen this thing before. I was under the impression that it was like co-developed by Enhanced Games, but this makes it seem like it is just an Enhanced Games game. And they made Tetris Effect and Res Infinite, if you don't recall. But Humanity, it's you play as a little glowing dog apparently, and you're guiding hundreds or thousands of people around what looks like a maze from IQ on the original PlayStation. Kyle, can you do a better job of summing up what the hell's happening in Humanity?
No. Like, I mean, I think the fascinating thing is like you're sort of controlling gigantic crowds and they're like sort of move in these big lines. And like visually, it was like really cool. And I was like, oh, Enhance, what is this? This was like a highlight. I know we're making jokes, but like this and Resident Evil 4 were like the things that stood out to me. I wasn't aware of it. I missed it during the original announcement.
Oh, really?
But I will say, like, I have no concept of like what the game actually is or how it plays. from watching the trailer, it just looks interesting, and I like enhance. And that's
Right.
kind of it for me.
Yeah, and they showed off the level creator, and it seems like puzzles of just trying to navigate. It looks like, I don't know, I thought of like Echo Chrome, maybe a little bit like what's your beloved mobile game that everybody liked a lot with the little birds and you walked around?
Angry Birds.
That's it. No, Monument Valley. That's what I was trying to think of.
Monument Valley.
You know, it's a little bit like that, but if you played it with hundreds of people, it just looks like a trippy thing. I was sold on it just when the trailer started. It's like, I think it's just refreshing to have a trailer show up in a state of play like this, where it's like, I cannot understand what I'm looking at. And, you know, when I'm hungry for like new experiences, this at least looks like a new gaming experience. And it's cool that you can play it in VR if you want. That said, it is a little bit scary. I hate to be Debbie Downer with PSVR and VR in general, but it is a little bit scary. Like, even if enhanced games is like, we're hedging our bets. It's playable in VR, but like, we're not going to go all in on VR exclusives, because even though we're experts with the tech at this point, even we aren't fully sold on the financial viability of this. So it's a little...
I think it's a cool thing to make VR, though.
Yeah.
I like VR experiences where you're hovering over a little table where things are happening.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, I started playing Moss finally after years of everybody saying like, hey, Moss is really good. And playing that in PSVR, it's like, okay, this does feel great. Even though I've seen trailers for the Moss games for years where you control the little cute mouse named Quill and go around adventures, and it kind of feels like Redfall. But like, I didn't expect just that cuteness of how compelling it is to feel like you're looking at small things. Like, there's just something about the camera in that game where it's like, okay, even from trailers, I didn't quite understand just how intimate each room feels in Moss as you're running around. But that's humanity, everybody. They also showed Goodbye Volcano High, where it's a bunch of dinosaur people kissing, and the internet was rejoicing.
We didn't see them kiss. The jury's still out on how they kiss.
Would you make a bet that there's kissing in that game, though, Sarah?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
it looked like a game where they kissed.
Oh yeah, it seems like the type of game where like 20% of it at least is just like dinosaur people making out. Destiny 2 Lightfall 20%. Coming out very soon. Street Fighter 6 trailer I thought looked awesome. They showed Zangief, Lily, who I believe is a new character, and then Cammy. But just like the animations in that are just incredible. But Kyle, Resident Evil 4, that's the one that got you?
Yeah, I mean, they just showed a ton of the game. Like, all these questions we've had, like, since they announced it. Like, it's like, yeah, what is the minecart going to look like? What's the castle going to look like? Is Krause in this? It's like, they showed a lot of it, and it's like, that game looks great, man.
Yeah,
like, I'm so excited to play it.
They can go so far just by, like, showing the village and kind of the earlier stages, but kind of this trailer showing... I don't know, the back half of the game,
it's almost
the middle
like a confirmation
chunk.
of like, yeah, like the other 70% of the game that you haven't seen yet, like that's almost done. Like, it's all there.
Right.
This isn't Final Fantasy VII Part 1. Like, the whole thing is here, you know?
And I felt like it's another example of just like knowing what people want. Like, they show the Krauser fight, which a lot of people were wondering, like, how's this going to work? Especially after this frickin' Game Informer cover story where Marcus Stewart says Capcom killed QuickTime events. They brought it into the back and shot it in the head.
That.
I know. He said
he
said they're going to be fewer or something. Then the internet took it to mean that they're going to be 0. But I thought it was interesting that in this they even showed
the internet misinterpreting.
Wow, you know how it is. It's tough. We can only pay attention to so much. But in this, like, actually showing the Krauser fight and showing like the literal button prompts of like, it's QuickTime-ish, but not as in your face as maybe the original version was with the Krauser fight. But it's fun just to, I don't know, have a game like this that everybody knows this well, where we can really dive into the details in the trailer. They can make the Krauser fight feel like it's the Super Bowl, like, Krauser! Like, it's not like I remember.
I just want to see the giant statue, like the one that chases you. Like, I'm waiting for that. And I also did notice that Luis is like sticking around longer than he did in the original game. Like, I know spoilers, but like he was in the minecart scene.
Right, and he
wasn't in the minecart thing in the original.
Huh.
And literally, he showed up 3 times, and then they just, like, offed him for kind of no reason. And I was like, that was very abrupt. Like, I thought we were really getting to know each other.
Right.
I thought we had, like, a bromance blossoming between us. And then they just, like, chucked him out the back door.
Maybe this is the new angle.
I'm looking forward to, like, experiencing more of the bromance.
Maybe at a certain point, they just kick Ashley to the curb, and it's just all in on Luis.
I mean,
that's why he turned Ashley down.
No.
Yeah, like, you still have to watch Ashley, like, crank like knobs while you're like sniper protecting her. A little disappointed about that.
Right.
That's
Write
fine,
down the
I guess.
censor time code for that answer.
You can't win them all.
Yeah, they said that mercenaries are going to be in it, which is cool. And then that a demo's coming soon. It's weird they wouldn't give a date for the demo. The game's coming out March 24th. It's like a month away, and they're still being cagey about when the demo's coming? That seems weird.
Are demos back?
Oh, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Why does everything have a demo again?
It's great.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah, even Humanity said that it has a demo. We should have mentioned. But yeah, what do you think it is? What was the turning point on demos? I'm trying to think of like a big successful game within the last couple of years where the demo changed everybody's minds.
Well, it's weirdly become a Resident Evil tradition now since 7.
Yeah.
Like 7 got a demo, Village got a demo. Yeah, but that's a good question, Leo. Like, yeah, was there some huge success story? I don't know.
Yeah. People saying
Nintendo does a lot of demos, which I like because you can like transfer save progress, but a lot of like on other platforms, that's typically not the case.
Right. I don't know what has changed. It'd be interesting to try and track it down. There has to be something we're missing here. But Resident Evil 4, it's going to be good. We'll be talking about it in a big, bad way here at MinnMax. Winky, winky, winky. So look forward to that, please. Then the big star of the show. Again, I think...
And it wasn't Baldur's Gate 3.
It was in our hearts. But the way that they build it, the star of the show...
Headliner.
Headliner is a better way to put it. Is Suicide Squad kill the Justice League? I feel like for a while we saw gameplay before, but I still feel like there's questions about this game from Rocksteady and people wondering, what does the actual gameplay look like? And like this was the chance for them to have 6 minutes of just here's gameplay. This is what you'll be doing in this game. Kyle, number one DC fan, what'd you think, man?
Like a good impression. Like the fact that it's so vertical and you are spending so much time in the air and Harley Quinn is basically Spider-Man. It was like it turned up the sort of my interest actually.
Yeah.
But I'm still tepid, but like I was like, oh, that looks the shooting is like whatever, but like the movement is like, oh, that looks cool. Like you can basically fly.
I'm kind of with you. Yeah, that was my read too of like I'm not the most excited for this thing as much as I love the Arkham games, but then seeing this and it's like, okay, at least it looks like navigating the world will be interesting, even if at least in this gameplay demo, it's a lot of shooting big purple glowing things. It's like you have to fight a helicopter, but what if the helicopter literally had a big purple glowing weak point that you have to shoot?
It's distracting to the point where like you'd be like, Sarah, what are you shooting? And I'd be like, I don't know, a purple orb. Like it's to the point where like is it a mech evil thing? I don't know, blob. It's got a purple button on it. I'm going to shoot it.
Right. And maybe it's just like this one level. It's just going to be really purpley for the shorthand for what you have to shoot. But it kind of just has me worried about like, co-op games, about that idea of, do you just kind of have to simplify things because you're probably going to be busy talking to your friends. And so the more they can just be like, just shoot here while you're blabbing with your friends, everybody.
It does feel like a game that you like play with your friends to just kind of like chat, and it's not really like you're not really sitting there and like discussing like serious strategic things.
Yeah,
you're just kind of messing around in your own corners.
Yeah, we'll see. Leo, as somebody who loved Avengers, how are you feeling about this? If it's an easy shorthand to say it's DC's Avengers.
I'm feeling okay about it, I guess. It seems there's so much baggage attached to it from the like rumors of it being a living game and having a battle pass and a store and stuff.
Well, they confirmed it in this, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how much that weighs it down from a consumer perspective. Like from what I was seeing in the chat and from myself, it's like it just makes it more daunting to get into. And then if I get into it, am I even going to have a complete experience, or am I going to have a middling experience for 10 hours out of the thousands they wish I would have with it?
Right. In the hopes of bringing people in for thousands of hours, you're robbing people of the shorter experiences that can be impactful.
And it's such a hard ask of the company to be like, turn down infinite money. We all want you to do this. We're not going to give you extra money to do it. We're going to give you less money, but we'll be really grateful.
Right.
You'll have some goodwill with us.
We promise we'll love you going forward. Speaking of goodwill, it was interesting in the presentation that they had a bunch of folks from Rocksteady kind of explaining the game and explaining why they're excited about it and all this stuff. But like they opened with Sefton Hill, who's the co-founder of the studio and creative director for all the Arkham games and for Suicide Squad. But he left last year, I think it was. And so maybe they just filmed that before. But it is interesting. Like it's rare to see a studio be like, okay, we need to prove that we still have street cred for people who know the name of Sefton Hill and have him like kick off this presentation to try and pitch why Suicide Squad is cool. Wasn't that weird, Kyle?
No, it totally surprised me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Sefton's here. Like, I don't know, maybe he's just kind of around, like helping with the like push across the finish line or something. I have no idea.
It's probably just a promotional thing they filmed. I mean, this game's been in development for so long. It's probably so long ago. They're just looking for a place to use it. But yeah, they're trying to, again, touch on the kind of Arkham connections here a little bit. But like, hey, you can play as Harley and she can be in her Arkham Asylum suit at some point. But then also, it's like, hey, here's the Penguin. He's in it. And it's like, oh, that's weird.
That actually weirdly like was exciting to me because I've in my head I've known it's in the Arkham universe.
Yeah.
But seeing Penguin with the glass bottle, it was like a confirmation of that in a way that I haven't received from any other trailer. That like I was like, oh, that okay. Weirdly, that got me more excited than I expected it to do.
Yeah, just the weird Nolan North Penguin, wasn't he? Didn't he play Penguin?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then also it's like, hey, there's a character named Gizmo and he can do vehicle creation. So it's like, okay, is this gonna be one of those Tears of the Kingdom clones? We're gonna be like building out your own car in this thing or whatnot. But yeah, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. My excitement went up one notch, but it wasn't exactly the showstopper that I think Warner Brothers and probably Sony were hoping that it was for this whole thing. Like it was cool. Oh, go ahead, Leo.
It also had potential to maybe be, but it was just too much of the conference. Like I can't imagine not wanting it to be over before it was.
Right. It is weird. Like I like the moment where they have Wonder Woman show up and she gets the lasso of truth. And she's got it on Flash. And she's like, tell us how to help you, Flash. And then I think it is a cool narrative hook to have Flash under this truth serum be like, the only way to help us is to kill all of us, Diana. It's like, that's pretty metal. That's a cool reconfirmation that absolutely 100%
only if
you will
get
murder
to
them.
actually kill them.
That's the great debate.
Because if they back out of it at the last minute and they're like, oh, they're not actually dead. It was like they got body snatched or whatever.
Right. Well,
cowards.
That's the thing, is because I didn't know it was in the Arkham universe until today, and it's like knowing it's in the Arkham universe takes the odds of you actually killing them down so much. Like if it was a standalone spin-off thing, that's like okay, it can be a little more interesting and as far as the impact we're gonna have. But now I do not think there's a chance.
It was just all a dream.
I bet you'll kill him.
Arkham has killed important characters before.
Didn't they bring them back though?
Well, not really. In their own twisted way. So maybe the next Suicide Squad game, all these characters can just live in Harley Quinn's head, and then they'll still be around for the Justice League. I imagine.
I'm surprised you don't want us to make bets, Hanson. Like put money down on whether they're dying or not.
I want nothing more than to people make bets. Does anyone want to take the bet that you will 100% kill the Justice League in this game, and there will be no Lazarus Pit or anything?
I think one of them will die.
Flash.
But the rest will survive.
Okay.
That's a good bet. I also think it doesn't really. I mean, they could get brought back in the next game, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's the confusing thing. We talked about it before. But like with DC, kind of in theory, getting unified under the DCU and James Gunn over there, and they want to tie games in to be canonical and stuff. Like they're more liberated than ever to maybe saw this one off and put an endpoint. But I mean, that happened within the last couple months, so I'm sure their plans were locked in years and years ago, and who knows. But Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, it's out May 26th, 2023, that is. That was kind of it for the state of play. Not the strongest, but, that's on us for getting excited to be alive. So that's fine.
I don't even...
No, it's on us, Sarah.
We're excited.
It is on us.
Say you're sorry.
I'm so sorry, Sony.
Okay.
I will atone.
Let's talk about something good, but let's not talk about it too much, and let's be really careful about it, because Like a Dragon Ishin is out now, the new Yakuza game, but we are taking the deepest dive into this, where Leo Vader and Sarah Podzorski and Jacob Geller and Michael Hyam are creating the best, most thorough discussion about Like a Dragon Ishin on the internet. So I am wary of you all sharing all of your tiny details and thoughts on this. Save some wisdom for the deepest dive, I guess is what I'm going to say. But Sarah, what do you think about Like a Dragon Ishin so far?
It is so refreshing to play a new Yakuza game for the first time. Like I played 0, Kiwami 1, Kiwami 2, 3, 4, I'm on 5.
Jeez.
So I never played Like a Dragon 7. Still have to get through 6. So it was nice to finally play a new Yakuza game. I was like, this looks amazing. It looks amazing. The cutscenes are amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody's hot. I'm like, Kiryu looks hotter than he's ever been. And they keep zooming in on his face. Like, God bless you, game developers. They really were eating good tonight. But yeah, just an absolute, like, fun to play. It's nice to be in, like, not Kamurocho. Like, not that I was getting bored of, like, Osaka Kamurocho or whatever.
Fair.
But it's nice to kind of have, like, a new stomping ground, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that because it's weird to be like, oh, finally a fresh new game. It's like, well, technically it's a remake of a game that came out, but it hasn't come to the States. But like, yeah, this is what, the first in Unreal. And I think it being a remake of a PS3 game, I was expecting it to look a little bit worse, but I had the takeaway too of like, especially the cutscenes, like this looks really damn good. I was playing on Steam, I guess. Leo, how's it sitting with you so far?
Yeah, it's interesting how it is kind of that classic Yakuza design. It's like a 10-year-old game, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot they did do to it, and it certainly looks nicer, but it is interesting going back to that brawling combat.
Right.
After Like a Dragon, but I'm really enjoying it. It's different fighting styles that are, specific to the time. There's sword, there's gun, there's sword gun combo, and there's fist fighting, which is like I've always loved that option in games to go fist fighting when everybody's using guns on you, just to really show your superiority.
It is.
See, I'm the opposite. I main gun.
I've been maining gun too. I'm excited to connect on that on the deepest dive. But it's I've been really impressed how meaty it is. You'll go to every little corner of this giant map that there's like 5 regions I haven't seen all of yet, and every little corner has something interesting. I feel like that's why America fell in love with Yakuza when it finally came over here in a big way. It was like, just, this is what a game looks like when the side quests are worthwhile.
Right. Yep. And
like
especially
meaty, interesting, different.
And especially
this game is delivering that really hard.
Yeah, like in this setting too. It makes me excited to explore this world, to learn more about this era of Japanese history. Because if you don't remember Like a Dragon Ishin, it's a weird thing where it's the characters from the Yakuza series, but if they went back in time and were different people, is kind of the easy pitch. Yeah. It's confusing. But it is exciting just to like, they're throwing all these terms and they have like a glossary, which is really handy, but it's just like, early on them just talking about like, oh, we need to get to the Dutch medicine. Only the Dutch medicine can save us. I'm like, that's so weird. Why is Dutch medicine making it through Japan this time and nothing else? Just like those little bits of real world history that you're learning from this at time very over the top game. And it's
nice that it doesn't have the baggage, I think, of the other, because like with Yakuza, it's got so much baggage of like, Yakuza 1, Yakuza 2, and they all kind of like tumble into this one, like over like this really big complicated story of the Yakuza. And it's just like nice to like it be refreshing to be like, to see something and be like, did I miss that in an old game? Did I forget that happened? Because this is just like a fresh start.
Yep. It is
a great standalone side one.
Yeah, if you've been scared of the series in the past, this is a good one to jump into, especially with the deepest dive, because there's a lot to unpack there. And we always talk about like, oh, if you support us on Patreon, you can submit a comment for us to read, or you can unlock the podcast version of that huge game club discussion. But secretly, I think one of the big benefits is jumping in that MinnMax Discord that you can access to on Patreon. Like, there's a channel for the deepest dive. Like, that is really the heart of the deepest dive. It's just like getting to play through it and have like really fun discussions with the entire community. Because with a game like this, where there's so much to unpack, it's fun to see everybody already going to town on that thing. It was weird. I was streaming it on our Twitch channel, and I was struck by how many people were jumping into like, wait, what is this? This isn't turn-based. Like, I think people are more confused than you think about the Yakuza series for a series being so popular. Like the name change, obviously, to Like a Dragon is confusing a lot of people. And then I think the message was received that like, okay, with Yakuza 7, Like a Dragon 7, now it's turn-based. And it's like, well, no. The main line moving forward is a turn-based RPG, but it's confusing to kind of have that announcement of like, now we're turn-based, but the next one, Ishin, that's going to be action-focused. And then there's Gaiden, which is coming out, which is bridging 6 and 7. That's also going to be action-focused. So it's a tough thing for Sega to message. So just remember,
have they said 8 is going to be turn-based?
Yeah,
for sure. They have.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know what though? I was put off Like a Dragon for a long time because I liked the brawling combat and I couldn't picture getting into the turn-based combat. Right. But having played through that and so many other Yakuza games, it's now really clear that like it's great. The combat is fun either way, but it's not like the heart of the game. Like the game. The series has so many more really special elements and just a really special heart to it that comes through in all the writing. that really gives it that personality. And it's like the combat is almost non-essential to that.
Yeah, totally. I am struck, just like in the prologue, I shouldn't be surprised with this series at this point, but just like it does such a good job of just setting up an interesting narrative. And it does such a good job of just being so clear about motivations and characters. It feels like storytelling 101, but Kyle, have you started this game?
My wife started it.
Okay.
I saw like the first hour or something like that.
Okay, so you walk into this new town, kind of returning to it, I suppose. And then immediately it's like, hey, this woman has a dying kid and she needs medicine, but these guards are no good. And they're like, hey, you need to stay down. You can't get medicine. And then they like backhand her. And then like it just sets it up so clearly emotionally. Like, hey, I bet you want to beat these guys up, huh? Well, here you go. I've had to kick the crap out of them. I just feel like the entire prologue is just like, well, you want a very clear character motivation? Here you go, here you go, here you go. And now you're off on the journey. It's just perfect.
It does make me laugh because it is like anime 101.
Right.
Like you just have to have the completely unforgivable group of thugs to meet the protagonist in the first 10 minutes. Like it's just, but it works, man. It always works.
Don't fix it. But yeah, Like a Dragon Ishin, we're going very in-depth on that thing, and we're covering for the first discussion, which we're going to be recording next week. So we're collecting your comments and thoughts on Patreon if you're a supporter at any tier on Monday, this coming Monday, which of course is the 27th. And so we're collecting your comments on everything in the game, Like a Dragon Ishin, for the prologue up through Chapter 4. So just submit a very specific thought, and then we'll read it during that discussion. Leo, how are you feeling about hosting that thing?
I'm excited. I honestly was not super sold on the first hour, and I was like, what did I get myself into? But when it opened up a little bit more, I'm really, really loving it.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot to talk about.
Awesome. That's going to be cool. Let's see. Hey, Kyle, you want to talk PSVR a little bit more, man?
Sure.
All right.
I finally put it in a box today.
That's not a good sign. It came out this week, man.
Yeah, but I had it early, and I played it a lot.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's start positive. You are hot on Resident Evil Village VR, which is now available.
Yes. Yeah, I really like it. I was kind of I was like a little like pessimistic almost because like I love Resident Evil 4 VR. That's fantastic. I don't like Resident Evil 7 VR.
Oh, weird.
But that was also during a time when they were like still trying to figure out exactly what to do with VR. Like you would aim with your head, and it just was like not great.
Right.
But Village, it's like very quickly you figure out that it's like, oh, this is a very considered port. Right, like you have full control of Ethan's arms. There's new mechanics that are only in VR, and it feels great. And like Resident Evil just structurally works really well in VR. So I played up to Lady D's castle, and like the thing that like works well is like that part of the game is like you're walking around and looking at a very detailed environment and trying to find things. It's kind of like self-directed exploration, which is like this works really well in VR. And then the shooting is fun, and the enemies sort of like creep towards you and sort of move their head back and forth. It's like it wasn't designed with VR in mind. Maybe it was, but it's a good fit for that. And Village is like a good port. It's like pretty handily the best exclusive thing for PSVR 2.
Okay.
Like I mean the competition isn't very fierce, but it's like it's the best thing to play.
How do they handle the hand stuff?
So sometimes control gets taken away from you in cutscenes.
Okay.
But because that's the other thing is like Village is so almost borderline one shot from Ethan's perspective that it doesn't feel weird when like a werewolf pounces on you and bites off your fingers because it doesn't feel that different from just moving around normally.
Okay.
And then a lot of the cutscenes are like Ethan gets dragged into a room and like sat in a chair, and then a bunch of performers sort of move around him and talk to him, which is like that's great for VR. You know, there's no like scene changes or anything like that. It's just people like getting in your face and making scary faces, and it's like, yeah, this is great.
Is it
Heisenberg? Your stubble looks amazing this close.
If only I could speak to you, Heisenberg. Is it? I mean, 7 has a scary opening. I remember playing that in VR and actually being genuinely scared. I wasn't that scared playing the opening of Village, but I'm trying to think in VR if like suddenly I'm gonna have nightmares over werewolves and stuff.
Well, it's if you remember, it opens in your house, and there's a whole sequence where you have to carry your baby around the house in VR, which is very weird. And you guess what? You don't have hand control when you're carrying the baby.
Come on,
oh man, you
no
can't
punching that baby or anything.
Coward.
I go after my fake wife.
That's right. No spoilers. But that scene, speaking of, where she gets shot, is like pretty intense in VR when she's like suddenly getting shot, and then you duck down under a table, and Chris shows up and like just throws the table out of the way, and like Chris is like intimidating in that game, and so like that becomes scary, and then
just a big guy.
I mean, honestly, in VR, hell yeah, like just this big muscular dude just like shooting your wife and grabbing a table and throwing it out of the way and being like, "Sorry, Ethan, this is just how it has to be."
And it only costs $600 to experience this.
That's right. But then you're actually like, before you start getting overwhelmed by werewolves, which feels more like an action game, you are creeping through very dark houses because the sun's still coming up, and that whole sequence is pretty creepy.
Okay.
It's good. It's all really effective. I was really surprised how much I liked it.
That's nice. Is it room scale? Can I play it sitting down?
I play sitting down. Yeah.
Okay. But you can do room scale.
My big tip is I actually have a stool. Like I sit on a stool so I have full motion for my elbows. And that's how I play most VR games.
That's cool.
Why don't you stand?
I'm not going to stand for like 2 hours to play a video game. I'm going to sit down. I'm
He's in standing, though.
He's usually on the ground or being hung up by meat hooks.
That's true.
You can take
I wish I could just like play through the cutscenes. Like I don't actually want to like play the game, but I would love to get like picked up by Lady D. Like that's all. Like I wish I could just like buy like the little bits that I actually want to experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Just jump through the chapters and stuff.
And that's another like, because VR is so good at scale. Like she's a gigantic woman, and it's scary when she grabs your wrist and starts sucking blood out of it.
It sounds good. Yeah, in a similar vein, I tried Gran Turismo 7. You tried that yet in VR? There?
Yes, I did. I played a little bit of that. Yeah.
How did that sit with you?
It was exactly what I expected, for better or worse. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like pretty straightforward. You play with the controller, which is like fine. It
was weird. Like why?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out why the controller. Like I was confused. But like, are my PSVR controllers not synced up, or what is happening here? But no, you got to actually play with the DualSense. Maybe they're just so into the DualSense tech that they couldn't let it go for some reason.
And you switch back and forth between the flat screen for the menus.
Yeah.
And then when you're racing, suddenly you're in the driver's seat, and then you can look around in your garage, which is kind of nice. But it's just kind of exactly what you expect, which is fine. You know, it's cool.
Yeah, it is cool to look around. I mean, driving in first person in racing games is always like a weird novelty. Like, oh, I like seeing the detail of the car, and actually, it's fun to be like racing, and then like I'm just so distracted, just trying to look at like the textures and fabric around me that I'm barely paying attention.
Feet, you know?
Yeah, I'm not looking at the road hardly at all. But yeah, I was struck by like how, I guess seamless is a way to put it, or just kind of, I thought it'd be like a whole separate, all right, pop up and go in VR mode. But I was playing it in VR, and I was like, it's just all kind of the screen in front of you for so much. It's not until the race starts. And it's like, okay, now it's in full 3D VR. It wasn't really clear, but I guess maybe that's kind of cool that it's assuming a more seamless integration of VR than just, okay, now pop into VR mode, and it's this whole thing. It's just, no, if you're playing in VR, you're playing in VR and play with the controller, and it'll just look cooler.
So I had never touched Gran Turismo 7.
Oh, really?
And as a result, it shows you like a good 8-minute unskippable cutscene.
Isn't it amazing?
And I was just like totally a prisoner of VR just watching this thing, because like if I take off the headset, it pauses.
Right.
You know, and it's like I can't skip it, so I'm like mashing buttons trying to skip the history of the automobile.
It is, and
like,
it is
I just want to race a car.
It is literally like sepia pictures of just, here's a Model T, here's Albert Einstein inventing equations. It's just
you
like,
can't even like look at your phone either. Like you are just trapped. This
the
is
best
the
I
future
came
of
up with is I
advertising.
could close my eyes, and then I was like kind of like
turn the volume down.
I don't want to learn about the history of the car. It made me sick almost immediately, Kyle. I don't know.
Oh, really?
I get nauseated really easily, but PSVR have been pretty good overall. Like What the Bat was kind of jittery at some point, and that kind of threw me off, even though I was really enjoying that game a lot. But yeah, Gran Turismo 7, it was within like 10 minutes. I was feeling bad. And maybe that's just a weird setting that I had it on, or maybe just, I don't know, I didn't have it calibrated right or something, but I'm curious what everybody else's take is. So yeah, Kyle, Runner VR was another VR game that you checked out that you seemed hot on?
Yeah, I just wanted to call it out because it snuck up on me because it's so Akira inspired.
Yeah.
Like you ride a motorcycle through these like neon soaked city streets, like fighting other motorcycles, and the motorcycles like tail lights have the trails just like they do in Akira. Your motorcycle has a little label on it. It's called an Otamo, which, Katsuhiro Otamo, the writer of Akira.
Of course.
And like Steve Bloom, the voice of Spike Spiegel, is like this anime head like talking to you. And it's just like, the game is cool. It's like an arcade sort of shooter. It's basically like almost borderline on rails where you're like have some control of the motorcycle. But the thing that just really just is like, oh man, this is for me, is just, it just felt like I was riding a motorcycle through Neo Tokyo.
Totally.
It's like, that's the dream, man. Come on.
Come on, that's it. It's on other systems as well. It's on the
it's on
Quest and
Quest,
whatnot.
yeah.
But it seemed cool. I jumped in and played a little bit of it. People, believe it or not, on the internet were tearing us a new one over not being Gaga over the PSVR. Like, there at times there's kind of like a weird
emails,
there's like a Sony fanboy thing coming through. Like, God, I forget that this corner of the internet exists every once in a while. And it's like, if you are excited about PSVR 2, God bless you. Go in there. I hope you love it. It's just, I don't know, man. I'm getting more and more pessimistic about it, especially after the state of play. And just, I'm trying to think of what could possibly make this thing fly off the shelves or get excitement in the VR space. And it's like we were talking about it for the reaction stream, but it's like, I think Half-Life Alyx is the best chance it has at like, oh, okay, I'd like to play Half-Life and I don't want to play on PC and have a super high-end index just to get a great experience with that. But it's like, if the PSVR 2, the number one most exciting thing they can do is convincing Valve to develop a game, it's like, good luck. That's a bad spot for a company to be in. If that's the strongest play you can make, is hope that Valve structurally gets their stuff together and actually works on a port of this thing. Like, Kyle, I don't want to be too negative, but like, what do you think about PSVR 2 at this point?
I mean, it's like a solid piece of hardware, but like, I still prefer my Quest 2. Like, because that losing that cable is everything. You know?
It is. There's nothing more important than that for me.
Yeah, and I mean, Village really impressed me.
Yeah,
and
that's
maybe
great.
Resident Evil is like what does it, because Resident Evil 4 VR is now not the recent port from Armature, but the Resident Evil 4 remake VR is in development, is how they phrased it.
But they said it's not going to be the full game. It's just going to be it seemed like a side thing the last time they talked about it.
But now with the recent news, which was like a Japanese post that like I know like Wario shared and stuff like that, it was like it seems like it's the full game now.
Wait, really?
Yeah, but I don't know. Like I'm not sure. If it is, that's cool. I mean, Village makes me confident that it could be.
Right, but that's weird. They just did the full game. That's so bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know.
And speaking of bizarre stuff, do you think our heads going to be turned when Facebook/Meta unveils that remake of San Andreas in VR? Remember they announced they were working on that? Or was that a leak?
No, it was announced. I when I was reaching out to them to find out when we could expect Beat Saber on PlayStation VR 2, which they didn't have a date for. They just, confirmed that it was coming at some point. I was also like, hey, and what's going on with San Andreas? And they had nothing for me.
Okay.
But it's, I would love to see what that is.
I know.
I have no idea how that would work or play, but I want to check it out. It sounds weird.
Super curious about it. Hey, Leo and Sarah and Leo. Let's get back to real gaming, 2D flat gaming, everybody. There is a game called Shadows of Doubt that had a demo out that both of you played. Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah, I was in the Steam Fest.
Well, I'll be damned.
Sarah,
I
don't think it was 2D.
Oh, no, I know, but just flat is probably a better way to put it.
You could look away from it.
Right, yeah. You weren't imprisoned into the history of the automobile. Sarah, what is Shadows of Doubt?
Ask Leo, because I don't think I played the demo as I was supposed to play the demo.
Okay, Kyle, what's Shadows of Doubt?
Ask Sarah. She seems to really be on top of it. I'm excited to hear what this thing is.
If I had to describe Shadows of Doubt, I'd be like, you play as someone and you can go into every single room, every single building, and you can look up extreme detail about every NPC that lives in there. You can read their emails. You can go into their homes. But honestly, I think I was supposed to be a detective, and I was more of a nosy robber the entire demo, because they don't there's no guardrails. Right. So they teach you how to be a good detective, and then they just kind of let me go. and I just nosed my way through the entire city, like reading emails on computers, like trying to steal stuff from cafes, like climbing in vents, like, and I was bleeding for most of it because I was getting repeatedly attacked because I kept popping into people's apartments, and it turns out they get really mad when you like enter their apartments through the vents. Like, that's apparently not cool, but it was really, really fun.
Right on.
Even
Let's
though
see.
I wasn't playing it appropriately.
What else, Leo? Do you want to talk about Story of Seasons, Wonderful Life, or no? Okay, yeah. So it feels like a detailed, systems-heavy game. Leo, is that what's catching your eye about this? I'm surprised that you grabbed into it, jumped into it.
If they made a game for me, this is what it would be. It's really it's a fully simulated city. There's thousands of citizens. You start in a giant apartment building that's also randomly generated.
What?
Like I started 2 different games and I was in a different apartment building in a different room every time.
Weird.
And you can go to any door in that building and you can knock on that door, and sometimes the person who lives there is there and they'll come and answer it. And you can have a conversation with anybody. I went across the street to my neighbor, across the hallway, knocked on the door, talked to him, said, "Hi, what's your name?" They said, "I'm not telling you that." So, "Hi, can I come and check out your house?" They said, "Absolutely not." I said, "I'll give you $50 to check out your house." They said, "No." I said, "I'll give you $100 to check out your house." They said, "Fine, I guess." And then I walked into their house and just snooped around and stole some stuff from their cabinets, went into their room. Okay, because here's the thing. It's this fully simulated city with all these people with all these different characteristics that can be filled out in your little notebook, including where they live, what their job is, their birthday, all sorts of little details, their connections to other people. They make this city, and then you play Deus Ex inside it. That's pretty much what the game is.
So
because
this truly is the Warren Spector.
Yeah.
Like he talked about the idea of like a game just taking place on a city block with a lot of detail.
It feels like that city block game.
All right.
For sure. And I like went into that person's house and I snooped around and I couldn't log into their computer because I didn't know the password. So I closed the door and look around, and there's a note that's like, the password is your wife's year she was born. And so I end up finding her wallet and finding her ID and getting it off of that and logging in that way. And then seeing like an email in their account from this person who's like, "I can't believe you fired me. I'll do anything to come back." And I take note of that person's name, and I go by their phone and look in their address book, which is like the people that they know. And I see that the first name and phone number of that person. It's all real.
Okay.
I tracked that person down and went to their house, the person who got fired. They're bummed out.
This sounds awesome. It seems like an odd fix or fit for like procedural though. Like, how do you have like a detective game and make it satisfying if all these things are variable to such a wild degree?
That's the thing, is it seems like there are lots of dead ends to investigations.
Oh,
there's
weird.
Like the main one they put you on, which is a little more scripted for the demo, was like, here's all these different things you can check out. This person they knew, this weapons shop that they were frequenting. And some of these are going to be dead ends, but you just track them down until you end up getting the right clue. But it's really in depth. And when you're studying the crime scene, you're like finding fingerprints that you can track to the real person out there who did it. And, you know, the weird things they touched in the room, like the depth of the simulation. I really love when it disappears and you can't tell where the lines are and what is like always guaranteed to happen or whatever. And this game really blew me away in that department.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's kind of first person, we didn't say, but it kind of looks voxely, a little Minecrafty in a way. But yeah, Shadows of Doubt, and they say just 2023 for the release date at this point. But
one to keep an eye on.
One to keep an eye on. That's cool. Yeah, you also played that game that you were keeping an eye on no matter what, called Meet Your Maker.
I met my maker.
Yeah, you finally did. Congratulations. We talked about it a little while ago. This is the one where you're kind of like building up your own base that then you set a bunch of traps so that nobody can invade your base, but then other people, you can go try and invade other people's bases. Basically multiplayer from Metal Gear Solid 5, but blown out into its own weird Mad Max looking game. Is that the best pitch?
That's pretty much the best pitch. It's what really got me intrigued is how hard they're going into it. Because yeah, it's been done before in different as modes in other games, but this is like there's no curated single player content. It just serves up player made bases based on their difficulty, which is determined by how people vote on it.
Right.
And it nominates one up to like champion tier, which will be like the boss of that batch of levels. Again, based on just people voting on it as an especially ingenious or brutal or whatever the little adjectives you can choose after you're done playing it.
That's cool.
And it is really cool. I found the replays. Anytime you log in, you can go up to this little computer and watch like spectator mode everybody who tried to raid your base, and you'll have stats on who died and stuff, and you get more points based on who died.
Ooh,
and you're getting
that's
passive
good.
income from having a base active. That what was a really strong drive while the demo was open for those few days of like, oh, it's the morning, I want to log in and see what people did in my base last night.
Totally.
If they fell for this trap or not.
It's exactly like with that spoiling thing, like episode 3 of The Last of Us, like, you know, seeing like, I fell for that trap. Like, it seems weirdly satisfying to just watch people get trolled. Like, I wonder if they'd ever like incorporate people's like webcams. Like, Kyle, what was that racing game? Was it Burnout on 360?
Yeah, Burnout Paradise.
Where like when you crash into somebody, you would take a picture of them and their webcams so you can see their reaction and stuff. That's weird.
It also does like the Mario Maker thing, right? Where like if you make a level, like you have to beat it, right? Before you can sort of publish it. Is that right?
I don't know that you even do.
Okay.
Because there is a little AI robot that walks from the start to the resource that they're there to get and then leave with. It takes the shortest path to go do that.
So it's a little
and
test.
so when you're playing a player-made base, you can follow that robot. If you're really lost, you can be like, oh, it's heading up that way. That's what I'll have to do.
Okay.
But it won't let you publish it if there's not a direct path for that robot to take. But I think anything beyond that, you can just make something way more beyond what is your skill level, which is cool.
Because I love that idea in like Mario of like you can make whatever you want, but like you gotta be able to finish it. And it seems like there's like at least that's integrated in some way, even if it's different, you know. There's not people just posting like impossible levels, which seems like it would just kind of break the whole experience.
Well, that's the thing. I think, yeah, maybe we're just cynical, but I look at this and it's like, okay, when this thing's out in the wild, there's no way it can withstand humanity. And I'm not talking about the video game, but I feel like this has to be broken. It's too pure of an idea to last on the internet, right?
I think so. The balancing of difficulty in the early part that I was at is resource based. Like you're unlocking upgrades as you play the game that let you make more complicated bases.
Yeah.
I had a really decked out base and only had room left for like 8 traps and a couple enemies. You know, just by filling it in to make it like beautiful to look at.
Right. Meet Your Maker. It's cool. Hey, 2 Leo games. Look at this on the horizon. That's exciting.
Meet Your Maker soon too, right?
Yeah, it's coming April 4th, apparently. Is it just PC?
No.
Ooh, you hear that, everybody? Do you hear us, everybody?
Crossplay.
Sarah, there's this other game that I don't think has a date in the States yet. But Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life. This is the remake, despite the name change. I understand it's confusing, but this is the remake of Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life on the GameCube.
And Harvest Moon, Another Wonderful Life on the GameCube, where the only difference is you get to play as a girl.
Right.
And it's because I emailed them when I was 12 and I said, could I please play as a girl? And then they released the game.
Wow.
That was nice of them.
So
cool
it's all because of me.
But they said girls have a different life. That'll be a whole separate
What do you
package.
mean the girls want to farm? Pet your cows? That's so weird.
You've been playing the
man
Japanese
stuff.
the Japanese version of this frickin' thing?
Yeah, the Japanese version came out around like the end of January. And I was like, if I'm going to have to wait until June, which I didn't want to do.
Right.
I was like, if I can just play it now, and it's not like necessarily a hard to understand game. It's incredibly basic. They pretty much have not changed much from the original versions.
Sure.
There's some quality of life, like it's just easier to like water your crops, plant your crops, pet your cow. Like it looks different. I don't know. It doesn't look as like textured as it used to. Everything kind of looks just like brighter.
Right.
But they also added like events that they didn't have before. This was an incredibly bare bones Harvest Moon game. Like the barest of bare Harvest Moon games. Like it was very small. It was not a lot to do. So they added like a potluck. They added like, I don't know if they had fireworks in the original ones, but they added some like seasonal events.
Right.
But it's still like it doesn't keep up with where farming games are now.
But is it okay?
So
I mean,
like,
I don't know. Like I remember I went back years and years after the fact, like early 2000s, I went and played like the original Harvest Moon again on Super Nintendo. It's like, you don't need all the bells and whistles. Sometimes that basic loop is just so good.
If you gave that game to someone who got their entry into farming games from Stardew Valley, they would be incredibly disappointed.
Right.
And I just feel like, yeah, if you're nostalgic for this game, absolutely play it. I've been really enjoying it. It really brings back a lot of memories. They haven't changed a lot. But like if your entry into farming was something more like Stardew Valley or like a newer game, I'm going to beg you to not play this game.
Okay, so buy this for my daughter is what you're saying. Like, get it right now.
Has she not played Stardew Valley?
Well, you have to wait till June 27th.
No, she's obsessed with Stardew Valley. She loves Stardew Valley.
She'll be like, I can only plant 12 crops and I have to impregnate my cow to get it to keep giving milk? Like, are you kidding me?
Is that legal?
Daddy, do I have to? All right, the story season's a Wonderful Life. Is it like all you wanted was a good nostalgia tickle from it, right?
Exactly, and it gave me that.
All right.
So, you know, it's good for me. What's good for me might not be good for other people.
For the gander, as they'd say.
Did you say A Wonderful Life or Another Wonderful Life?
I played both A Wonderful Life and Another Wonderful Life.
So they're both recent remakes?
No, they only remade... The only difference between A Wonderful Life and Another Wonderful Life is boy, girl. That's the only difference. And they both came out on the GameCube.
And then the remake is just like incorporates everything.
Yeah, you can be a boy, you can be a girl. Like the bachelors and bachelorettes are the same. You can marry whoever you want, no matter what gender you are, which is great.
Okay. What a time to be alive. That's cool. Yeah, and I don't know if you saw. Actually, I know you did because we talked about it. New Show Plus as an option, but yeah, Harvest Moon: Back to Nature is out on PlayStation, which is awesome, but also just it makes it so confusing again with the name change of Harvest Moon to Story of Seasons. Then to be like, but then PlayStation's promoting go play Harvest Moon on the PS1. It's like, okay,
it's sad to see how far the Harvest Moon name has fallen.
It's a mess. It
really just looks like shovelware.
Except for that weird Match 3 game that I forget the name of that I am a defender of. That's actually good.
Co-op one.
No, what the hell is that? It's like Mad Dash Rush or whatever. I talked about it on the podcast. I'm not proud of it. Yeah, Harvest Moon Dash. I do enjoy that weirdo game. Speaking of enjoying a weirdo game, Sarah, I have been playing Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. This is the Final Fantasy music rhythm game. It's the third entry in the Final Fantasy version of the Theatrhythm series, not to be confused by anything else. And like I played those 3DS games. Did you play the 3DS games, Sarah?
No.
Okay. Oh,
I wasn't a fan of Final Fantasy in the 3DS era.
Oh, okay. There's a whole new audience. I mean, maybe this is why it's picking up. So this is the thing. It's like I played at least the first 3DS game. It was like, okay, love Final Fantasy games. Gameplay, I'm kind of a snob when it comes to music rhythm gameplay. This one seems just fine. That's all right. But then I picked up Theatrhythm Bar Line, and I thought I was going to have the exact same experience with it, but I don't really want to play anything else. It has just consumed my life. And Octopath Traveler 2 is sitting there. I'm like half an hour in. But it's like, I could experience a new RPG, but why would I do that?
Like, I just keep playing this one.
Just listen to some of the greatest music from video game history with the Final Fantasy series and just press some damn buttons. And like, I was streaming it the other day, and everybody coming in was having the same reaction of like, wait, is this really a good game? It's like, I think it might be an excellent game, everybody, but it's still the same ingredients. But for some reason, at least for me, it is just grabbed me in a hypnotic way. But Kyle, you've been dabbling with this thing too?
Yeah, it removed the touch screen stuff.
That might be it.
And that helps a lot. Like you said, it was fine on 3DS, but it's just not very satisfying. Even Elite Beat Agents I don't find as satisfying as like, other rhythm games. Is the remake soundtrack on Final Fantasy VII remake soundtrack?
Oh, is it? Yes, it is.
Okay. I will say I'm a little confused by like there's not really like a campaign, which I guess is like a good thing, right? Because it lets you sort of just go to the one you want to go to.
Right.
So I went to Final Fantasy VII and played the first couple tracks of that. And I like the rhythm gameplay. My big thing now is like,
interesting, right? Because it's different from like normal rhythm games. So it's actually played normal rhythm games. It's like, you play with sort of just like the buttons and like maybe the shoulder pads and maybe the joysticks. But this is like, you don't need to press like X, Y, A, B. You can only press A if you want to.
You can press any button.
Like, it's a series of taps is how I would describe it over like a series of like precise, like, Y, X, B, A, B, 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 A, Y, B, A. Like, it's more of just like tapping.
You tap any button you want. It's about analog.
Like the Persona rhythm games are very much coming at you from all angles and different buttons. And it's too many inputs. Like, I don't like it. But this is like fewer inputs. And I think that takes it a long way. But I really want the Chrono Trigger stuff, and to the point where I'm confused how that works, or it's coming later.
So so they have there's 385 songs in the baseline version of Theatrhythm Bar Line, but then there's DLC, and like you look at that DLC roadmap, it's awesome. And it is like going throughout the entire year. So Live Alive music is dropping in March. The Nier music, I forget when that's dropping, but that's coming soon as well.
That's really exciting.
There's a Chrono Trigger drop and a Chrono Cross drop in May and June. And then this is the one that I fell out of my damn seat. Xenogears music is dropping in September then in this DLC. It's just like Square has just
Does it have an asterisk like for Ben Hansen?
Yes, exactly. Well, now, I mean, with Hi-Fi Rush, not to spoil anything, but Xenogears is cool again thanks to Hi-Fi Rush, so everyone's into it. But it's just like, you know what? We have so much great music. We need to surface it somehow. And so this is getting to the point where when this is well and done and the DLC is all finished, it's like, is there a chance it could rival Smash Ultimate for the greatest soundtrack of all time? Probably not, but it's at least a contender because there is so much damn good music in this thing. And that's the thing. I talk about remake music being in there. It's just like this thrill of going back to the series now and being like, oh, yeah, like 15's music is in here, 7 remakes music is in here, and then the big thing is Final Fantasy 14 music is in here, Sarah. And by God,
Crystal
is
Chronicles in there.
Yes,
I was shocked. Like I played through all of. I was shocked and amazed, and like just very humbled that that they're so willing to acknowledge Crystal Chronicles after what they did to it.
And tactics. They have a whole section on tactics that you can unlock and play through. And like Sarah and I have a bonus video that we made that's going up Friday on MinnMax's YouTube channel about it. But the 14 stuff, it's over an hour and a half to play through all of that.
It's like 30 plus songs.
Hang on, is everyone hearing something? Okay.
Yeah.
Is someone playing violin?
Yeah, that's my wife playing violin. No, I think she's
One
cooking.
long out of tune violin note.
Well, it's
She's cooking
I
something.
thought maybe it actually was because my kid plays violin, and
What?
before I even came on the podcast, she was like, "Hey, Dad, remind me to practice today," and I was like, "Yeah, I will."
Does she want to
like
play
it.
some
She's
Final
starting.
Fantasy tracks for us?
Wait,
I'm
what?
trying to get her to do the 13 combat music. She needs to get on that.
What got you good in the violin? That's awesome.
I don't know. She picked it. She was just like wanted to do it. And I was like, "Yeah, go for it."
But she insists on calling it a fiddle.
I don't know how to respond to that. No.
Right on. Yeah, it's like with,
Whoa, wait. But the mystery is still unsolved. What is that?
I don't know. It's like a
It's
mixer or something.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's not important.
Is it Leo's chair?
No, it's my wife cooking. That's my wife's cooking,
Oh, okay.
Sarah.
Why does it sound like a violin? What? I just sound like
Because
an
she
out-of-tune
cooks with a violin. What is confusing about this? Anyways, like they give you so much good music in Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. It's like it's tough not to be picky though. Like, it's like I love remakes music so much, but it's like I don't need another version of One Winged Angel and Genova. Like obviously there are awesome versions in that, but like I'll take a Hell House. I'll take some weirder picks from 7 Remake that aren't in there. That's kind of a bummer. And like Sarah, I mean, despite them having hours and hours of 14 music, I know you were still bummed they're missing a couple of key tracks that the community's in love with.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job picking the tracks for Final Fantasy 14.
Right.
I really think that they did a really good job. They did it was heavy on A Realm Reborn.
Right.
And it was heavy on that side, and I wish it was a little bit heavier towards like Shadowbringers.
Yeah.
But I understand that they're trying to like incorporate more newer players who might have not like gotten that far, and like maybe they're just free players, So like I get it. I would love to see like DLC for Endwalker or like more later expansions, but I'll take my 30 songs and I won't complain because Final Fantasy X-2 had like 8. So
that's still pretty good. I mean, that is the level of fan service. I mean, Final Fantasy X-2 is getting 8 tracks. I gotta say, the Dirty Dirge, our Dirge Cerberus, our beloved game, not one track in there. There's a whole section for like bonus FF7 stuff, and it's a bunch of Crisis Core music, which is good, and a lot of Advent Children music, which is Advent Children music, but like not one Dirge track. Disappointing. But it's dopey, but it's just a game that makes me really happy to play. I'm just delighted to go through this thing. I think it's so fun.
I'm just a little sad that like you have to unlock everything.
Yeah.
Like I wish I could just freely play what I want to play, but instead I have to sit there and go like, oh, I gotta grind through a Final Fantasy game that maybe I'm not as interested in to unlock another Final Fantasy game. And like I would say if you want to play this, make sure you like at least 5 Final Fantasy games. At least like you need to really like the music of at least 5, or else you're just like, now what do I do?
I mean, but to be fair, when so many have great soundtracks and they're picking some of the best songs from that, I mean, like, I didn't really know 14's music going into it, and it blew my damn mind. Like it's an opportunity.
Is an exception in that the music's really good no matter what. I don't know if we can say that of every Final Fantasy game.
Probably. Yeah, it turns out
it's always tough to just have a conversation about music, and talking about songs, can you just sing your favorite song from it, Hanson?
Yeah.
So,
it's like from 14?
From 14. Yeah. Because I know you have a favorite.
I do. I'm trying to remember. Okay. Da da da. How does that Wake Me song go, Sarah? It's like da 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 da. The Wake Me Angel, whatever your favorite track.
Da 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 na 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 na, and then there's like da 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 da, and then I hope you're editing like the actual song over this too.
I'm not interested.
So
This
no one
is
has to just listen to me.
I got bad news. This is a
I thought you were
gonna
pick Alexander.
Oh my God!
I thought you were gonna be like Sonic Boom.
I didn't expect to be laughing my ass off listening to 14 soundtrack because like there's a lot more vocals in like apparently the raid battles than I thought, and like they go for it in a very strange way, and it's like it is the spirit of the opening of Final Fantasy X, Kyle. Our beloved cool metal guy. Imagine that vibe spread out over like hundreds of songs for Final Fantasy 14. Like there's a lot more singing than I thought based on the songs that they chose for this. So it's a good time. So this rhythm game, it's $50, which I get it. I hear you, internet. And then also it's only available on Switch and PS4 at this point. I mean, you can technically play it on PS5 if you want, but it's not on Steam or anything.
I assumed
which
it was
weird.
PS5. I've been playing on my PS5.
Yeah, I think it's just PS4. Maybe I mean you can still play it. It's not going to look that much better even if it is native for PS5. But they're still going to have weird little cat mouths for all the characters and stuff. But I'm really enjoying it. Hey Leo.
Hey.
Do you know how this whole thing operates?
Yeah.
You do.
Those little guys, right?
It's the little.
Giving us money?
It's the little guys giving us money. Patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. If you go to that URL, you can become a big guy today. Guaranteed. Find the tier that's right for you. Help keep this whole thing afloat. We appreciate it. We have a Patreon goal where we're trying to make a documentary about everybody's pets, and we're going to make it if we hit 3,400 supporters. We are like 85 supporters away from hitting it. And with the combination of you can jump in, help support. Oh, good Lord. There it is right there.
Oh,
for watching the video version of Leo's cat's being shown off with a Mars filter. I don't exactly know.
It looks like he just came from the gates of hell.
That is doom. That's terrible.
Anyways, we make a whole documentary.
Weigh my soul.
You listening to this, you could put us over the top right now. If you go to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's, jump in there and unlock a benefit like the podcast version of The Deepest Dive on Like a Dragon Ishin, or you can unlock the podcast version of The Deepest Dive in Resident Evil 4 Remake, which will be coming up very soon. So it's a great time to jump in there, help support us. We appreciate it. And thank you to some of our biggest supporters. You know who you are, but just in case you don't, we'll tell you. We're talking about I Am 8-Bit, our dear friends at I Am 8-Bit. They want you to know about The Pathless, a game that Kyle thoroughly enjoyed, if I may put words in his mouth. It is available on the Nintendo Switch, and there is an exclusive physical edition from I Am 8-Bit. You can pre-order it right now at I Am 8-Bit's wonderful site, the Nintendo Switch physical edition. It comes with a fold-up poster, reversible cover sheet, collectible art cards, exclusive artwork, a bunch of good stuff in there. So check that out and help support I Am 8-Bit in a big bad way, because they support us in a big bad way by shipping out a prize each and every week to the MinnMax community. They're so generous. So go to their store and you can use the promo code SWEETHEARTS, all one word, SWEETHEARTS, and you can get 10% off of everything in their store under $100. And help support them, because this week they are shipping out. I'm 8-Bit's cool and Kyle's cool, and there's a very clear evidence of this, because Kyle, this week, whoever has the best questions submitted over on Patreon, they win, thanks to I Am 8-Bit, the Hyperlight Drifter vinyl soundtrack. 4-album vinyl soundtrack. They will just mail it to your damn house. Again, we're giving that out to whoever has submitted the best question over on Patreon. If you support us at any tier on Patreon, you can submit a question each and every week and win a great prize thanks to I Am 8-Bit. All right, Leo's cat, you ready for these cool questions?
Oh,
it popped up.
Excited.
Okay.
Yes.
Ready.
Nick from Atlanta writes in, they say, hey, cohorts, I've been enjoying Theatrhythm on Switch, which is a little weird considering I haven't actually played most of the Final Fantasy games. Regardless, the music slaps, and it's great to hear all these original songs and remixes from Final Fantasy's history. What other game franchise or publisher do you think should have its own rhythm game?
I don't know why Nintendo doesn't have one.
Yeah. Just overall Nintendo music? I mean, it's kind of...
I just think they could just have, Nintendo Rhythm or something. I don't know.
The Kondo
That's
Collection.
A bad name. Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, what? I mean, that would be the greatest thing ever. Is God forbid if Koji Kondo ever retires from Earth. Like, wouldn't that be awesome just to have like a Beatles rock band style documentary game? You're just going through Koji Kondo's entire career. Like, they could do it. They are technically capable of making a game like that. I mean, I guess that's just Smash Brothers. Is just go to the music section of Smash Brothers and bang on your legs, and that's
clap your hands.
Yeah,
along.
exactly. Donkey Kongo along.
Get your Donkey Kong congas out, plug them in.
Yeah,
I think somebody needs to do it for like indie games in general.
Ooh.
A lot of crossovers like Shovel Knight or Rivals of Aether or whatever, where it's just you get all these different indie games with banging music.
That's a good
Like,
point.
Racking my brain now. It's like, God, I'm surprised it doesn't exist at some capacity already.
I mean, you can mod like Beat Saber, and there's like Osu, and they would come with like tracks that people created, but there's no like one stop. I mean, they are kind of one stop shops, but it's like you have to be able to find and seek what you want.
There was
I want full crossovers though of like chicory music with cute chicory visuals within like one umbrella.
It's surprising that doesn't exist. I mean, there was everybody's favorite Amplitude on PS4. Wildly underrated game, but they brought in music from like Crypt of the Necrodancer. They brought in the song that Ted Price, founder of Insomniac, sang. Like they were at least musically trying to interconnect a couple other indie studios, but like, yeah, just kind of the indie Smash Brothers but music rhythm game. It must be out there, we just don't see it. But they could bring in score and soundtrack, all the hits. Keep that crossing over.
I said Mega Man X earlier, but like actually, honestly, just Mega Man. Just like let's do them all Final Fantasy style. Like that would be incredible. It would be kind of fun if they could like integrate where you have to like shoot in time with the music or something. I would love that.
Right. That would be good. I'm surprised you didn't go Zelda, Kyle. I mean, we kind of covered with the Nintendo stuff, but like Zelda seems like the only franchise that could possibly rival Final Fantasy.
Yeah, but like it's a lot of even Final Fantasy music is a lot of orchestration, which I don't think is necessarily suited to rhythm games.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Where Mega Man X is all Mega Man X, like all that music has like driving beats that I think would be amazing for like a rhythm game.
Yeah.
And plus why can't I think of it? The exercise game for the Switch. What's that thing called?
Yeah, Ring Fit.
Yeah. Ring Fit has Breath of the Wild rhythm game in it already. So
yeah. That's right. God, I forgot about that.
I do want to play the Breath of the Wild piano trills, ambient piano.
On the Rock Band 3 piano. Yeah. I if they ever made one, any publisher ever made one, they'd probably recruit the studio. Like I went down a weird rabbit hole today of just the studio that made the Theatrhythm games. They're called Indie Zero. And it's just like one of those weird studios I've never really heard of them or cared about them before. And you start digging in and they just have this fascinating history. We're like, they made the Kingdom Hearts rhythm game, if you remember that, a while ago. And they also made there's the Dragon Quest Theatrhythm game and stuff. But then they also go back to 1997 and they got their start working on the Satellaview, like working on software for that weird thing where the Super Nintendo add-on where you played and downloaded satellite games and remakes of original Zelda and all that nonsense. And then they made Electroplankton. They made Sushi Strikers, the NES remix games. Like they've just been around for 25 years now, just making weird oddball projects like this. So Capcom, please reach out to them and get that Mega Man game rolling, please.
Please. I mean, there's a lot of Street Fighter, right?
Ooh, just overall Capcom music. Yeah. Nick McGrath asked, why hasn't Sonic the Hedgehog gotten a rhythm game?
Because
they got to do at least Castlevania before they do Sonic the Hedgehog. There's other ones. There's better ones.
I don't know. Sonic Adventure 2, Escape from the City on my rhythm games.
Have you thought of it, Kyle? Michael Barry says, hey, where's Jumpin' Flash for PSVR 2? Seems like it'd be a perfect marriage between early PlayStation nostalgia and novel VR gameplay. Same for Ape Escape. I do think an Ape Escape game in VR would totally work. I think they'd be a great
It's not
contender.
about making like things that would be good though. It's about how do I reload a gun?
Right.
And crouch behind this like low wall.
Right.
We're not thinking like it doesn't feel like they're thinking like what would actually be successful, and it's more just like these are the games on other platforms. Look at your gun. No crouch.
Right. We'll make it artistic looking, I swear.
I would love to try Jumping Flash, but I bet that game, like just even conceptually, would just make you so sick.
It'd be brutal. It'd be completely brutal. But yeah, I'd love to see like IQ in VR. I think there's a lot of, if they just had like a retro PlayStation package of just here's a bunch of weird experiences,
Hey,
that'd be
Metal Gear
something.
Solid with the PS1 visuals, man. Someone
Hang
did that
on.
mod where you could like explore Shadow Moses with the PS1 visuals, and I've never wanted anything more to actually exist in the video game space in my life.
Wait, Kyle, hang on. Are you sitting
Hold
down?
on.
I'm closing my eyes. Are you sitting down?
Yes, I am.
What if they just released the game and they just called it Metal Gear VR missions? They just like use the same title as that PS1 game, but these are actually those missions just in VR. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yes, let's do it. You and me somehow.
All right, here we go. I just researched a studio called Indie Zero. We could reach out to them, see if they want to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, they just released
Let's
a game.
get the
They're
rights
not
quick.
busy.
Let's get the rights to Metal Gear Solid.
Hurry. We're live. Crap, we're live.
They're available.
Someone's gonna take our idea. Kyle, okay. What about this for an idea? Tell me that this is corporate naivete. I understand that, but I was thinking about PSVR 2 and just what they could do. I was thinking about like, you know what's weird is Sony owns a studio that's made a ton of VR games that no one has played. Like, isn't it weird that they'd have to wrangle with Meta for the rights, and I understand it'd be a mess, but like, just they should release like the Insomniac VR bundle and just release all of those Insomniac games that a lot of people haven't played, like Edge of Nowhere, Stormland, The Unspoken, Feral Rights. Like one of the most beloved studios on Earth released 4 VR exclusive games, and now they're owned by Sony, and those dots aren't connecting. It's weird, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Edge of Nowhere, I really like. I would love to sort of have a chance to play through that again.
Yeah.
I would love that. Yeah.
Right. That's one like what? It's a kind of Lovecraftian in the Antarctica. You're running around.
Third person, which is like
Yeah.
I feel like there's just not enough third person stuff. I like third person stuff in VR.
Yeah. Tom Blackburn says, "Hey everybody, how can VR convince parents or owners of small pets that they aren't going to step on their children or fuzzy children? Are there any strategies so I can make use of my aging VR hardware?"
You're gonna step on them.
Yeah.
And that's okay. They'll recover.
Oh no.
I have a VR mat that I use. It's small and circular. Let me just push this cat off of me to show it to you.
Sure.
No, don't disturb him.
Space Traveler. You'll notice it has these raised spots, one in the middle and one in the front, so you can feel with your feet whether you're on the center of it or which direction is the front of you.
Oh, weird.
And then I just have it with a few feet of clearance on every side, so I can, lean out to go do something, but I can still feel where center is and come back to it really easily.
Right.
And that prevents a lot of incidents from occurring.
That's nice.
You guys were making fun of me earlier, but I'm telling you, stool. It's the
No.
way to go, man.
No, that's
It's
so
the way to go.
lame.
I got my drum stool. It's perfect.
You're not immersion isn't broken by spinning around on a little stool?
No. That's how I played Alex in its entirety. I was like sitting on this stool. I had it raised high, so I wasn't quite like totally seated. It was perfect. You can relax. You can lean back a little bit. You don't have to stand for too long.
Kyle, when was the last time you watched Waiting for Guffman, by the way?
Man, it's been years. Although I did watch the Netflix show about the mascots where that character appears.
Yeah,
Does that count?
Corky. I don't think it counts. But do you remember that song in the musical where the town is renowned? It was put on the map for the stool boom because they started making stools and it really took off. And they have the whole song in the musical where it's like, stools are where once upon a time you'd find a chair. Chairs for fools. Everybody wants stools. Anyway, that's what I was thinking of. That's my favorite song.
That movie, Hanson?
I've seen that movie okay, everyone exaggerates, but honestly, probably 16 times. I'll say confidently. Let's see. Tom Rickard writes in. This is a question. All right, Tom, you made me think a lot. Tom says, "Hey everybody, I've been playing through Metroid Prime Remastered for the first time, and I'm loving how interesting the levels are. I feel like with modern open world games, we don't see as many well-designed levels as we used to. What are some levels, good or bad, that are consistently your definition of a video game level? Would you go more modern, like New Donk City in Mario Odyssey, the Milkman Conspiracy in Psychonauts? Loving the show. Thank you, Tom. So good or bad, just video game level is such a good question.
Whenever I end up in some weird sewer system and I have to change the water levels,
Right.
I hate that.
But that is video game 101. Yes.
It's the most video game. If I have, first of all, I'm over sewers.
Right.
Get them out.
Yep.
Be more creative. I'm sick of it.
Yep.
And I'm also sick of changing the water level puzzles because they keep showing up and they're just a step away from like the shifting puzzle, like the shifting tile puzzle. And I don't like that either.
Kyle,
And usually you have to run between like the furthest points of the map. Like I don't even
Right.
need to guess where you put those buttons. I will just look at the map and pick the furthest direction because I know that's where you put it.
and that's fun, I think. I mean, Leo, I don't know how far you are in the Psychonauts 2 documentary, but I thought, and Kyle, I don't know how far you are either if you've started it in any real way, but you should. But it's fascinating that like there's a whole level in Psychonauts 2 and the pitch is just Tim Schafer being like, Wet Dry World from Mario 64 is awesome. Like changing the water levels rules. Let's like make a whole level based on that. And the team is just brought through hell. They have to reboot it like over and over again. It is just like the hell level design. They cannot do it for years. And then they have a clip of like Tim Schafer going back and playing Wet Dry World from Mario 64. And he's like, wait, this level sucks. I don't know why I thought this was actually good. It's like, oh my God, what have we done?
I was trying to think of what Sarah's thought. I was like, man, have I ever been in a sewer level and thought, this is cool. This is a cool
that
place.
does not exist.
What about that Turtles game? That's like the
Maybe there's a Ninja
Metroidvania.
Turtles game.
Yeah. Or like Metal Gear
When you
Rising
first turn into a
Revengeance.
wolf in Twilight Princess, you're kind of roaming around the sewers for a little while, and that's creepy and weird. And that's all right.
Yeah. I think this is a good level, and I already kind of referenced the game, but I think like we're just thinking about classic ass video game level, like Bob on Battlefield that's got to be up there, right? For just like, all right, you have a clear objective, get to the top for the first star at least, and it's fun to play around, but there's still, you got to navigate it as you work your way up, little challenges. Like it's the perfect level of freedom and structure, I think.
It's kind of like you've seen those breakdowns of the 1-1 from Mario about how it teaches you how to play, and like
right.
that's kind of what Bob on Battlefield is in a 3D space.
Totally.
Right? Like it's just like the mountain in the distance, like you just intrinsically know that that's your goal and like making up there. Yeah, good one.
Or you just, I don't know, or you go for just the best of like Titanfall 2 Cause and Effect, like the time travel level, like. But I don't know.
More of an awesome mechanic than like an amazing level,
right?
Which is cool in its own way. I'm not being dismissive of it or anything, but yeah.
Kind of sounds like it. Yes, Sarah.
I just want to say, to add to my sewer thing, I would like to add mines to that. Mines are just sewers without the water, and they also suck.
Yes. Yep. Where do you stand on like Elden Ring, and just kind of navigating those spaces over and over again?
Really liked Elden Ring's level design, but I think that's just like they're really good at it.
Even for the mines with that,
really
like,
well.
Okay.
Well, you mean like the different sort of like cave systems?
Well, I guess there's a difference. Like there's the mines, which I guess are one thing, but then I guess there's kind of like the repeatable sections.
Cave systems?
Yeah,
I
caves.
didn't really like that part very much, but they were normally short and you could leave at any time and nobody was making me do it.
Right.
So,
right.
But unlike, other games where it's like, oh, we got to get through this mine system through the mountain and can't go over it, can't go around it, gotta go through it, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be a mine, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really do think From is like the modern masters. I remember playing Dark Souls 2, which was the first From that I really got into, and thinking to myself, I was like, man, this is the first time in like years that I can really remember the layout of locations, just because I've gotten to know them so well, because you kind of have to creep your way through slowly,
right?
And that extends to like Elden Ring's obviously more open, but there are so many areas that are sort of carefully designed and like push you in different directions, and Sekiro is really great about that too, with having like grapple points and stuff like that. So in terms of like who's doing it well today, it's From.
Even just I think we talked about it, we talked about the game, but just like Hi-Fi Rush 2, I was delighted by the level design in that game. I mean, I've just been playing too many open worlds recently, but just like very tight little intricate section by section pieces of level design where it's just like, I feel like, okay, I can understand every space in this game, and it's kind of comforting to be like, how are they laying this stuff out? Charles Bean wrote in, and it's Ask Kissy, I'm sorry. They say, I thought the Trivia Tower episode with the blank check crossover was great. Movie trivia should be in regular rotation. Thank you for the great content. Thank you, Charles. Thanks everybody who watched and competed in the first film episode of Trivia Tower. I've wanted to do that for a long time, to like shake it up and do something other than video games. So that was fun to bring in blank check folks. And I guess I won't spoil what happens in the end, but I'm fully expecting producer Ben Hosley to make good on his promise of shipping me a piece of his jeans that were buried in the backyard. He says they're coming, but I sent my address and I haven't heard anything back. So Hosley, don't screw me on this. I want those ground jeans. Mick Manga writes in and says, so a goofy idea crossed my mind. Wii Sports and Tetris on the Game Boy are among the best-selling games ever by being a pack-in. Even Nintendo adds those to their sales figures. So my question is simple, ladies and gentlemen. Is it time to give Metroid Prime Hunter's First Hunt its due? Or am I a madman? I think of it this way. The DS is almost tied with the PS2 for most popular hardware of all time, so it would make sense that the Metroid series is technically one of the best-selling ever.
That's funny. I really thought the email was going in the direction of, it's stupid that Nintendo does this and ridiculous.
Counts the sales?
But certainly I have fond memories of that Metroid Prime DS game. That blew me away.
That was a demo, though.
It was a demo, but it was like it had a name. It wasn't just a demo for Metroid Prime Hunters.
Here it is.
You just have that? Like,
yeah, well, because I showed like Ben my Game Boy case,
right?
And I was like, wait a second, that sounds really familiar, but I have no memory of receiving this game. And I opened it up, and there it was.
So, did it come even like the later DS generations? It was just like the fat one, right?
It was just the launch, yeah.
Right. Okay. So maybe that weakens it a little for overall software sales, but I bet that's a bigger component of why people are nostalgic or have fond feelings for the Metroid Prime series than they'd care to admit. Because Metroid Prime 1 sold, like 3 million copies or whatever the hell, but then this is played on millions and millions and millions of DSs. Like, there's something there.
I think it's interesting.
I don't think I ever played it.
No one actually played it, but
I don't think I actually played it.
I remember feeling very, very like ultimate nerd because I had a DS and then the singer in my band had a DS, and we drove 40 minutes to a nearby city to play a show, and like we set up and we were waiting to get started, and him and I broke out our DSs and we were playing Metroid. And, I was like, I feel like we should be doing something cooler. Like, we're in a band. But no, we're just sitting here playing Metroid. It's cool.
It was cool. You know what? History's on your side, man. The nerds won, so...
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
What are you going to do? Try heroin for the first time? You have no other options. You got to play Metroid Prime First Hunt.
Those are the two.
That's right. Let's see. David Dubbs writes in and says, you ever want to try heroin, Kyle?
No, I'm good.
Good. David says, hey, folks.
That's that new Show Plus option out the window.
I can barely... I can't even rewatch Train Spotting anymore.
You can't.
So, good.
David says, hey, folks, is there something you had absolutely no interest in until some algorithm threw it in front of you? A year ago, I had absolutely no interest in public transportation and infrastructure, but since YouTube started putting up those videos for recommendations, it's all I watch now. Did I choose to like this, or did the robots make me? When the AI takes over, David, you are going to have to design the new infrastructure plan. So I hope you're paying attention to all of those great videos. I guess, algorithm recommendations out of the blue that have hit the mark. Something stand out for somebody?
My partner and I, we want YouTube to throw us weirder stuff because we love going down those weird rabbit holes based off the one thing it gives us. Recently, we got really into snooker because it gave us one snooker highlights video. And we were like, how does this work? This highlights video is so much more confusing than I expected as far as what people are applauding for, what seems to be impressive. And so we've just been watching snooker clips and like trying to figure out the rules of snooker. And that's been a really fun.
How is snooker the pool with the little bumpy things on it? Or what is that?
It's pool with like 20 balls and most of them are red.
Oh,
and
weird.
The table's way bigger and it's way, way harder.
Okay. Kyle, do you know what I'm talking about? What that other pool is that has like the knobs on it?
You and me? I don't think.
No, we haven't played it together. I'm just asking because you're older and you seem wise.
Oh, I've seen it before, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know what it is.
There's this foosball?
That's it. Air hockey. No, it's just little bumpers or whatever. No, I don't know what I'm talking about. Kyle, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's this show, this BBC show created by David Krause called The Increasingly Poor Decisions of Todd Margaret.
Right.
And like there's an important plot where like he's trying to get a famous snooker player to like represent his energy drink. And like I didn't realize, I thought it was like made up for the show. Like I didn't know what it was. I was like, this is a game? I didn't realize it was like a thing.
Weird. It turns out it's called Bumper Pool. I should have figured that out. Mine is, maybe I was like buying too many presents for my nephews or something, but my phone, I think just Google, just tossed this ad in my feed. It was the first time I've ever done a double take for just some stupid ad. I was like, what is this? Blew my damn mind. Cal, have you seen this toy? It's a train.
Why are you directing all these questions at me? I don't
because
know
it's for kids. It's for kids, and you have it's for kids, and you have like 6 kids or something. But it's like a train, and you put like domino blocks in the back and make this big stack, and then the train goes like choo choo, and it moves ahead, and then it stacks the domino pieces behind it. So it's like the automatic joy of like flicking the domino train, the line when you're done, but then also just like a cool block depositing train that goes around your living room. It's like, it is the biggest slam dunk of a kid's toy I've ever seen in my life.
I'm starting to think that based on the way you're talking about it, I don't know if it was because of the kids thing or just because they knew you specifically would really want this.
Oh no, he would like some weird tactile block thing?
It's like when people like out themselves by like, I'm getting all this weird stuff in my algorithm, and you're like, oh, it's kind of on you though. Like,
so the AI is trying to turn me into a 6-year-old, or it doesn't have to try? It just
knows that you would pay for a tiny train that would stack dominoes so you could knock them down.
I only bought 2. Joey wrote in and says, boy, a Max spoilers on Psych Odyssey, the Double Fine documentary, would sure be fun. Thank you, Joey. Stay tuned to MinnMax's channel, please.
We're going to be hearing about this documentary until the Game of the Year discussion.
And
then that's the only thing we're going to hear about.
It is so good. Jacob Geller just finished it. He was gaga over it. Blake Hester from Game Informer was just raving about it. Also, like, there's so many people talking about it in the Discord that there's now a channel devoted to Psych Odyssey discussions because Kyle is so damn good.
It is good. Okay, I hadn't heard this.
Shut up, you jackass. Case Mulder wrote in and asked, why am I addicted to a documentary? Because it's amazing. Leo, are you still plugging along with that thing? Plug-in?
I'm sure I will finish it. I guess I could go faster based on being able to then join the conversation about it. But it's, there's lots of other stuff I listen to also.
I don't know why. Graham Jones writes in and says, I've been playing Atomic Heart recently, and while the game world is captivating, the main character is super cringy and obnoxious. I'm wondering, what are some of the cringiest characters in gaming, and where does P3 rank? P3 is Atomic Heart's protagonist, Kyle?
Yeah, he's number 1.
Okay.
He hasn't been on he hasn't been out there long, but he's really gunning for first place.
What is his deal?
He's an asshole. He's just like mean for no reason to everybody about everything. He's just a jerk. Yeah, he feels like super edgy for the sake of being edgy. He really feels of a different era.
In an effort to make people laugh?
No, he's just like
But is that what they're trying?
I think they think he's cool because he's so mean. Right. And like he's like, yeah, it's rough. It is like that game like it made a good first impression on me. Like that opening of that game is very cool, and the world that they've sort of like art designed looks incredible. But like he really just is terrible. Like he's awful.
So yeah, this is Atomic Heart. If you don't remember, it's kind of the it's on Game Pass. It is the BioShock inspired alternate Soviet Union history game that, full disclosure, has some confusing ties to the Russian government with the funding, and it's kind of a mess. And like the composer, Mick Gordon, who did the most recent Doom games, he's like, I'm donating all the money I made off this game to the Ukrainian war effort because like this is a weird thing.
It's complicated, yeah.
It's a mess. But have you been enjoying it, Kyle?
I mean,
okay.
Yes, I really do not like that protagonist, but like the animation and like the world they've established and even like the lore that they've set up is really fascinating and interesting.
Okay.
I have gotten distracted by other games. I may go back to it. We'll see.
Gotcha. Andrew Martin writes in and says, is Kiryu the hottest protagonist with the most games? I say yes, though Samus is a close second.
Champ.
Yeah, hotties that have just been around for a long running series.
Samus, like, if we're talking about if that was like, is that the one that you're putting forward for the debate?
That's what Andrew does, yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of personality there.
Yeah.
But like Kiryu has both a hot body and a hot personality, so he's like double winning.
What about like Cammy, like Street Fighter characters? I'd imagine.
Again, personality.
I don't know if you saw
the Street Fighter characters. I'll give it up for some sort of personality. In sort of subtle ways, more than Samus. Yeah.
Cammy had a butt and she fought in front of the British police and the horses. You saw the trailer today, Sarah. Elliot,
she had the least butt, which was surprising. The least crotch shots of all of the characters they showed.
It was a lot of Zangief ass in that trailer. Elliot Smith writes in, "Oh, welcome back to Earth." They say, "Hey, sorry.
Can you read it in his voice? It's very breathy.
I cannot, and I won't. Hey, gang, hope this makes the show better. We've had lots of live services end lately. Rest in peace, Rumpleverse. Does the crew feel we're going to see a change to the mindset of developers because of this? Because of all these live service games shutting down, like Knockout City and whatnot?"
Well, yeah, we mean publishers, right?
I suppose so.
I feel like they're the ones who say, hey, developers, here's the type of game that this should be.
Right. But I mean, for those examples, I feel like, like a Rumbleverse that feels like, okay, what's the safest bet for a studio we can make for an independent studio like Iron Galaxy? Let's try and make some live service battle royale, and not so much.
I feel like the only way that's going to happen is if like the top grossing games are suddenly no longer live service games, because every publisher just says, I want what they have,
right.
Give me what they have, even if it doesn't make sense with anything else we've created or the game that we've created, even though it's like counterintuitive to what we should be doing. They literally just go, they literally point and they go, that looks successful.
I know
some of that.
But now I think they know the risks and they think it's worth it. But I think this might be the start of a turn where those games die faster, where it becomes more normal to kill something after a year or less.
Yeah, it's weird for, the studio that everybody's looking at, the game, well, I don't know about everybody, but some people are looking at like Destiny. It's like, you want to climb to the top of that turd mountain where their community is just sending death threats every day, and it seems like the developers are just going through hell just to try and keep that thing alive? Like, I understand there's a decent amount of money coming in, not exactly GTA 5 levels of cash, but like just for all these studios for so long just to try and get to that spot that Destiny, it's miraculous they've made it there, but it's like, I don't know if that's a model for what you want to do to your teams.
Yeah, it's almost it feels like it's almost, there's like a turning point where it's almost like a safer bet to make like a solid like single player game at this point. Which is like I would love it to trend that way. My currency for these kind of games is time. Like I do not want a commitment to a video game. I just don't. I'd rather, just play a single player, have a good single player experience, and peace out. But I that's not. That's a one-time purchase, maybe some DLC purchases, and not much else.
But that's, I think, what is so weird about Sony, because it felt like with the PS4 generation, that's a lesson they learned. Is like, you know what? You make a really good single-player, high-budget game. Yeah, you'll whiff a couple times, but you can sustain almost an entire console based on that pedigree. And now it seems like the trend is them going towards live service stuff, where it's like, what? You want more money? I don't understand. Like, I know it's easy to, be like, oh, another third-person game where the dad is sad. That's Sony games, and they want to try and shake it up. But, like, for them to be pushing into live service now after such a successful generation, it feels odd compared to the rest of the industry realizing more and more, like, I don't know if every franchise needs to be a living game. But
well,
there's
and
no
I think
such thing
with the
as enough
popularity.
money.
Yeah, then the popularity of the Last of Us TV show, I think a lot of studios are going to be like, we can monetize IP other ways. Like, we can make a movie, like Mario has a movie, they have a theme park. Like, you can look at your IP outside the realm of video games now, like TV shows, comic books, movies. Like, there's other ways to monetize.
Yeah, other than just going for the classic living game. But what if you did everything at once? We're talking Twisted Metal show, Twisted Metal living game, Twisted Metal comic book, Twisted Metal restaurant, whatever you want.
Restaurant.
Adam Cohen, only ice cream cones. And what else? Kyle, help me out.
Wait, this is what they sell at the Twisted Metal restaurant?
Yeah,
just ice cream cones?
Yeah, Sweet Tooths. Ice cream cones. What else is there? There'd be like
the guy who stood and went on the two wheels.
Axel,
his arms get blown off as to show damage. You could have the like turkey drumstick Axel.
Axel. All right, it makes itself money. Adam Cohen writes in and says, hey, MinnMax crew, the Patreon goal that you all have right now of featuring your pets in a documentary is cool. But may I suggest a more urgent one for Patreon? Please send Leo Vader to E3. Assuming he still wants to go, of course. I do remember Leo talking about how he was supposed to go for his first trip several times for Game Informer, but then it kept not happening for various reasons. I would raise my Patreon tier for a few months to help Leo finally get to E3. Ain't that sweet?
That's touching. Thank you.
we talked about it, and we were fortunate enough to be in a spot of like, okay, it'd be weird if we didn't hit that goal. We just wouldn't send Leo to E3. Like, why even make that an option?
That's what I said, is if we enter in the possibility that it could not happen, it won't happen.
Right.
This is my curse.
If we put that up as a Patreon goal, our funding would plummet to just bare minimum levels. So the good news is Leo Vader locked in. Put him on that plane now. He is going to E3. Thanks to everybody's support on Patreon.
If it happens, though? Do we know for sure that it's happening?
I mean, unless there's a wild new COVID outbreak, but what are the odds of that?
You've already ruined it. We're doomed now.
Sorry.
So
So
you are registered,
something
right?
unprecedented happens.
Oh crap! Register. Are we gonna do that part?
Did you register for E3? Seriously, Leo?
Was there a deadline?
I think they're sending approval emails out now. I think some people have got them.
Hey, Leo, I'm gonna write down a little note. Register for E3. But the good news is the plan right now, at least based on our meetings, is it's not just Leo going to E3. But Sarah Pozorski is going to E3 with Leo.
What?
Hell yeah.
I like to think that I'm going as Leo's tour guide.
That's right.
And I'll get a little flag and a little white cap.
I can't wait. And Sarah,
And a clipboard.
You should bring like a pouch of balloons and just like inflate them the whole time.
I need to get like, we want t-shirts that
Matching
says like
t-shirts.
Leo's first E3, and then on the back it'll just say end last.
Right. It's going to be good. So yeah, those two are going to E3. We'll be doing reaction streams and all that stuff in some capacity here. Might be funky. Stay tuned. But then also, we thought like, we should have some Patreon goal associated with it. So we're locking in those two going to E3, but we will have a Patreon goal that we'll announce for a little extra something. Maybe an extra day on their trip where they could go explore some other things in LA, maybe with Janet Garcia, maybe some things that might be kind of fun that just opened up in February. We'll see. So stay tuned to Patreon. Thanks for your support. Honestly, it's amazing that we're at a spot where it's like, we don't even have to plead for money to get Leo and Sarah to go to E3. It's incredible. So it's all thanks to the community. So thank you. And the smile on their faces when they go to that show. Leo's head's gonna freaking explode. It's gonna be sweet.
I'm really excited.
It's gonna be fun. Travis Manic says, "Hello, Ben and friends." And friends has 2 N's. And then Travis says, "Hold for response."
Thank you.
A+.
Forspoken and Ant-Man are, at worst, fine experiences that are fun, even if they don't move their respective genres forward or whatever. But any discourse about them is basically, this belongs in a dumpster fire or a dumpster that is on fire. What's up with that? Why are games and movies only allowed to be masterpieces or hot garbage? Is the bar just so high nowadays?
Social media loves hyperbole. And that's it. That's just the answer.
You get rewarded for going on one end or the other of the spectrum. There's no reward for being in the middle.
Yeah.
And I think outside of social media, there's something human about it being like more exciting to have a take of this is really in an extreme one way or another.
It's just real world attention, you mean?
Yeah.
Just people will pay attention to you a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you're being a little naughty,
Right.
Simple as that.
Do you like going to a movie, Leo, and sitting next to people and being unsure what they think of it? Like, have you ever had that experience of like leaving a movie and then talking about it with your friends and they just have a completely different take than you assumed they had? And it's just
lots
jarring?
of times I think they are hating it and then I find out they liked it.
Yeah. I had that experience where I think I was seeing Nope with some friends. And I was like, I think these people hate it. And then everyone came out and was like, oh, that was the best. I was like, okay, because I liked it too, but it's a movie that I feel like could go either way,
Yeah, it's hard not to get in my head about that for sure and just be like,
are you like,
it doesn't matter, it
them
doesn't
while
impact my
they
experience.
watch?
How do you watch movies, Sarah?
What cues are you looking for from
I
them?
think I watch people in theaters more than the average person.
That is so,
I'm
but
more
like, what are you
interested.
looking for that you would be like, yeah, he likes this. He really likes this.
Just that classic telltale sign when they say, "What are you staring at, you weirdo? Look at the movie." Just those.
You want to
basic
see
things.
like a single tear like roll down their cheek and like
Right.
a slight chuckle.
Yeah.
A half smile.
Yeah. Is it too much to ask for? Yes, exactly that.
Yeah, I was listening to Daniels, the co-directors of Everything Everywhere All at Once, an
Yeah.
interview with them. And it was from the time when the movie was just getting to advanced audiences and it was at like the highest ranked movie on Letterboxd or something of all time. And they were like grateful for it, but Daniel Kwan also said it's like frustrating because they don't want that to be the conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, is this one of the best movies of all time? 'Cause
Totally.
instantly that poisons your perception of it going into it versus just, I'm going to see this movie and think whatever I think about it. It's like, is this the best movie of all time? Of course not.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of, to a lesser degree, but it feels like the Citizen Kane thing, you know, of like, I like Citizen Kane. I've seen that movie twice, but like every time, and this happens all the time in my life.
Apparently.
Waiting for Guffin is absolutely better than Citizen Kane. But like, if you try and tell somebody like, hey, you want to watch Citizen Kane, they'll be like, the greatest movie of all time. Like it's too much pressure. It just feels stupid to watch it now. But if it just was a reputation of like, oh, in 1941, there was this actually really good movie that came out, you should watch it. Like it'd be completely different, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see. Jai Bones writes in, they say, now that Kelsey isn't on the podcast, it sounds like disdain, but I assume that's said with love. Just on this episode. As far as I know, as far as I can tell, Kelsey isn't on it. But now that Kelsey Lewin isn't on the podcast, it's a level playing field. What's the best pickup you've got through thrifting, garage sales, Craigslist, etc.? I got a decent deal on a Vectrex that's in pretty good condition. That's good. I'm gonna go get mine while you give your answer, Kyle.
I bought DJ Hero, like a brand new DJ Hero, from my Goodwill store up the street like a year and a half ago. Because I will pop in there every now and then because I really want Rock Band like 4.
Yeah.
I want Rock Band 4, like the whole kit and caboodle. I want the drums and the guitar, but it's like so expensive these days. So I will pop into like my Goodwill every now and then and hope someone who didn't have the foresight to Google Rock Band 4 on eBay might have dropped one off. But I was like a DJ Hero 2, I think I got, and it was like, I don't know, $20 or something. It's brand new. Like I had to pull it out of the plastic bags and everything, which was really cool.
That is nice. Yeah, it's weird, the Rock Band instruments thing. Like Leo and I just went over to Brian Shay's not too long ago and played Rock Band and were reminded that it's like the best game ever. And it is just this weird feeling of just like, God, I'm now scared of when my PS3 guitars break, because I have 2 right now that are working fine, but like when those go down, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. I don't know.
I think it's like $500 or something. Like if you were to get like the drums and the guitar in the game for like the most recent Rock Band.
Oh my god.
And like every couple of months I'm like, am I there yet? Because I could play this with my kid. It might be a lot of fun, you know.
Might be. Mine was I was back in my hometown garage sailing, and they had Final Fantasy VIII, like the PC version of Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's like all the discs and stuff, and like just seeing the art is cool, and like fold out manual and stuff. And I brought it up.
It's a weird box too.
I know. And so I brought it up to them. And I was like, hey, how much are you charging for this? And they're like, I don't know, $1. Okay, great. done. Thank you. So I'm very excited to have a weird copy of Final Fantasy.
I'll double it.
Please. All right. What do y'all like for...
I got this guy behind me from a thrift store.
The clown?
Wow.
The sad
Just that
clown.
one?
Clown art?
I got all the rest of them from thrift stores afterwards, but I like got this first and then was like, let me get a bunch of other things to match it.
Nice.
This is the heart of the wall for sure.
Absolutely. Let's see. What do y'all like for question of the week? Well,
I think Leo and Sarah need some reminders. I have one locked in.
I mean,
I think just Sarah does.
I'm willing to go with whatever someone says first.
Damn it, Sarah. Well, in that case, I think the video game as a video game level is good.
There we go. Ship it.
Sarah, it's this type of attitude that just will not
really like
fly
that
on this
question.
podcast. I like the Metro Prime Hunters.
Oh, actually, I like
shout-out.
Hunters.
too, yeah.
I like Hunters. Yeah.
The
That
live
one's
services
also
at
really
end.
good.
Okay. Enough of this. Sarah just wants to move on with her life deal. Sincerely, everyone who gives a crap. This person gets a prize, Sarah. How can you not care? You need to make the right call.
Drifter
Yes, this is a big
finals.
deal.
True.
It's Hunters. Hunters is good.
Hunters? Leo, you lean in Hunters or levels?
Well, that's a great question, Hanson.
Yeah.
Thinking back on how those questions went,
Right.
you know, we had, of course, the Hunters one, which was a bit about gaming when games sell real good.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is as opposed to the other one you said.
The levels one.
The levels, which also was about video games in its own way.
Right.
And I think comparing each of those, it really makes you wonder which one was the better question.
Yeah.
You're making some great points here, Leo.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Furthermore, come on, Leo, make a call.
Vis-a-vis.
Be a hero.
The Hunters one.
Hunters! Congratulations, Mick Manga. You just won the big prize for finally giving Metroid Prime Hunters first hunt its due. Now it's time for something called Get a Load of This. All right, hit us, Leo. Hit us with your best shot.
Let's remember. Here I go. I'm starting to remember what my. I'm stretching this out so much.
Right.
Oh yeah, here it is. Hitman Elusive Target Wallace and Gromit. It's a YouTube video, 2 minutes long.
Perfect.
It has 2,000 views, and it's an insanely well done Elusive Target trailer from Hitman, but about Wallace and Gromit.
That's content.
And it's like got the motion graphics and stuff. It looks straight out of the actual game. It's really good.
Do you feel like
does that have an asterisk on it that says for Leo? Like I can't imagine like more.
Is your video about pitting on your own channel, pitting Elon Musk as an inventor against Wallace and Gromit? Is that the video out of any others that like you wanted to do better and you expected to do better? You're rooting to do better views wise?
I guess I was expecting it to do a little better views wise, yeah, but of course, you know, Elon has access to so many resources. He can easily have suppressed it.
He's silencing you. That's what it is.
He's been shadow banned on YouTube.
I honestly thought the ranking Brendan Fraser movies where he emerges from the past was going to do better.
Yeah, it's unpredictable.
Oh, you really hit the zeitgeist on that one.
Yeah, you're right. You were too early. You got to hit the whale zeitgeist, ride it like a wave. Hey, get a load of this. I thought this was wild, but it happened last week, or maybe earlier this week. It happened at some point. Point is, Jake Solomon, the creative director for the XCOM series and most recently Marvel's Midnight Suns, he left Firaxis after 23 years, which I know I shouldn't be surprised when the developer leaves a studio. It's just this whole industry is constantly shaking up. You know, Shinji Mikami just left Tango.
Years, though?
Over
That's
20 years.
The longest I've heard of a game career at a single company.
It's wild. And he was always in, I feel like every interview we did with him, I feel like even in the most recent interview we did talking about Marvel's Midnight Suns, like he's one of my favorite developers to interview. He feels very open and honest and talking about how brutal game development is my favorite topic. And, but every interview he says the same thing, like, hey, I'm a simple man. I love my wife. We've been married forever. I've got the same old truck I've always had, and I'll never leave Firaxis. And then like this news file stuff, it really struck me as bizarre. But very curious to see what he tackles next. But whole new era over there at Firaxis apparently. But Kyle, what do you got?
Hey, get a load of this. I like South Park. I like Trey Parker Manson. I haven't watched it honestly in years. Like it's not one I keep up with. But apparently there was a recent episode where the character Token. He revealed that his name is actually Tolkien, like spelled like the author, and it has been, and they've just gotten his name wrong all these years. And apparently, what they did is they retroactively went and like updated all the subtitles on like old episodes, and like instances where his name appears on screen and stuff like that. They corrected it to say like Tolkien. Like they went back through like since the character existed just to retroactively fix this like joke that they had for
That's
this one
amazing.
episode.
Wow.
Which is just it's so funny and insane to me.
I gotta say, South Park, I used to watch it so much, and I fell off and like I didn't know where to watch it. It was all over the place. But now it's like, oh, it's back on HBO. I feel like new episodes weren't on there for a while, but I just watched that like Harry and Meghan episode, and it made me laugh like a maniac. Just like at times, it's just like the right level. Like, okay, this is why I used to love South Park. It is the right kind of dumb at time. Anyways, Sarah, what do you have?
Yeah, get a load of this. I recently have gotten really into Just Dance lore.
Yes.
Apparently, there's lore that spans through all of, or like some of the Just Dance games. And like Just Dance 2023 actually has a Marvel-esque story to it about like good versus evil. But I guess like to put it, probably most people have at least played the first few Just Dances, but to give you a little like idea of it. Remember the Rasputin guy? Rah, rah, Rasputin.
Yeah.
Like everyone knows that song. He apparently got married to the Katy Perry Hot and Cold dancer, and you can see them dancing together in a song.
What?
And then in Just Dance 2022, you see them like meeting for the first time in the background of another song. And you see them like meet and like hang out, and they're like falling in love. And then in Just Dance 2023, they get a divorce, and you just see the Just Dance Katy Perry person dancing in front of like all their wedding photos breaking.
Oh my God.
And this isn't the only one. There is like Lady Gaga Telephone, Toxic. There is like all of these like little key moments that they just like sprinkled through all the Just Dance games that are quite dramatic for like I wouldn't notice this unless someone told me.
Why not?
Cool.
Like it's fun for the developers, you know? Like go through it all.
But it's like it like talk about playing the long game where they're like, yeah, they're married. Like, what do we do with them now? Like, well, we got this song called Psycho, so like I guess they get a divorce.
That's fun.
Just Dance is a pretty consistent staple in our house. Like we play it at least like every time a new one comes out, we play it for like a week or two. I've had no idea about any of this. This is fascinating.
It's hard,
cool.
and the 2023 one has some hard-hitting lore where a girl from like the real world gets sucked into the Just Dance world.
No.
And they need to defeat the power of evil with the power of dance. So she kind of isekais herself, and she has to go and she has to like grab all the coaches, which is what they call the dancers apparently.
Right.
And they have to form like a party of like good versus evil, and then they kind of like dance versus the evil people. It's like, and these are all dances you can actually play, but like I wouldn't know. Like it's not written anywhere.
Right.
You're just supposed to like notice it.
Weird. Well, you got to read the item descriptions. Is where it is.
That's right. Hey, get a load of this. In the Discord for the community, Crowboy shared this tweet from Wario64, where they say that according to the VGC podcast, which I believe is new, Konami planned to have a, quote, pretty big E3 this year. And they're going to announce a new Castlevania and a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake officially there, is the rumor. So hold on to your butts, everybody. E3 is going to be a banger, not just because Leo and Sarah are on the streets, but it's for sure happening, and it's going to be big because we're getting the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, according to this podcast, at least.
They heard we were coming.
That's right. Oh, crap. What do we have? Oh, well, we've been sitting on this Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, apparently, for a decade. Let's do something with that. All right. That's it for this episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for watching or listening to this thing. We have some things at MinnMax you can know about. We got a bunch of content coming up on Monday. I'll leave it ambiguous, but it's tying into a certain theme. Bonus video about Theatrhythm going up on Friday with Sarah and I. I think it's a fun, silly thing. We might have recorded it right after we drank a lot of wine after Nintendo Online.
Right after Nintendo
so it's a little tipsy. And exciting things is we brought on a community manager here at MinnMax, Haley McLean, who you know as a Game Informer intern, but then also from Game Query, the podcast that she was on with Leo Vader for all those damn years. Right, Leo?
That's right. We started after our shared internship at Game Informer.
Yeah. So I'm sure she'll be popping up on content here and there, but primarily she is kind of managing the Discord and taking care of the Discord, taking care of the mods and all that stuff. And she's a very nice person. So jump in there and say hi and thank her and the mods for all their hard work keeping that Discord a real paradise on the internet. So shout out to Haley. I look forward to having her on more stuff in the future. Also, we have the Game Championship running right now on Patreon, where, at the end of all the podcasts, when I ramble on and say, things like Perosia number 6 is officially the champion of Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint, that type of thing. We took all of those games that people were the champions of over the last 4 months, and we're putting them in a series of polls, all randomized. But we are choosing, the community is voting for which game we should create bonus content about. So it's 3 days of these, and then over the weekend, we're going to have a public Twitter poll to determine which game that people have championed that we're going to create bonus content about. Sarah, good news. The first poll yesterday, the winner was The Herbs Sims in the City. And right now for the second poll...
Black Eyed Peas?
That's right. It's a close race between Hi-Fi Rush and Pajama Sam, No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside. So the community is just nailing it with some oddball choices, but I'm curious to see what wins for the third poll, and then you can vote on Twitter over the weekend for which game we create bonus content about, and you can throw your name and your game in that pile by supporting...
I would love for something as weird as Pajama Sam to win.
I know. Well, I mean...
We just did the Magic School Bus!
I know! Maybe we did such a good job with that full playthrough of the Magic School Bus game, Sarah, that everyone's like, this is the sweet spot. It's like weirdly educational.
We're actually only going to play old video games that actually don't have any ends to them.
No, but they're all educational and enough, and they're kind of fun. So thanks, everybody, for being at that Game Championship tier and making us all happen. And thank you to supporters like Joshua Ayers, who's the champion of Puzzle and Dragons, Clemens Zobel, who's the champion of Shadowrun Dragonfall, Andres Silva, who's a champion of Dark Cloud. They will not let Dark Cloud go. They have it just in their grasp over and over again. Steve B is the champion of Destiny 2 Lightfall. Hunter Blessing, the champion of Guitar Hero 2. Very good choice. Jesse Spencer, the champion of Yakuza Like a Dragon. Hell yeah. Thanks to everybody at that tier for making that happen. Thanks to everybody for getting us closer and closer to that pet documentary. We are so close within striking distance. If you want to go support us on Patreon, we'd appreciate it. Otherwise, hey, thanks so much. Kyle, I thank thee.
great. You're welcome.
Sarah, I thank thee. Hey, how you doing?
I think he's doing an AI outro again.
This is me trying to be nice, but Sarah seems so eager to get the hell out of here. Do you have anything to say for yourself, Sarah?
I'm gonna go throw myself in a snowbank.
Okay, that sounds great. Leo, and I thank thee for being here.
And I thank thee, my good man.
Oh, thee to all. Fare thee well. Thanks for watching or listening, everybody. We'll see you next week. Be good, have fun. Let's go.